and a tip behind him. That's going to be a spin from Goodell. Maybe no, he catches it. How in the world did he catch that?
I have no idea, and I'm not sure Ryan Goodell did either, but he comes back onto the track. A little bit of a check up there around him. That was incredible.
And taking advantage of that, Clayton Ham. Let's take another look at this replay. The 14, all sorts of sideways, and it starts to look like the car wants to go again. That's why he went on the apron. I thought maybe he just was slow and was trying to get out of the way, but he had to save it twice. We are indeed Brunschweiler to the inside of the pair of them. That might not necessarily be the best line unless he can get it woed up in time. He's the bravest on the brakes, and he is going to get it. Wow, the 4 moves up to 5th in a 2-1 move. Side by side between Burns and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has the inside, but not a nose ahead at first under braking. It starts to go back ahead. They're going to go wheel to wheel through here, giving each other space. Now it's a drag race, DJ, on who gets to the line first.
And it's going to be a shorter line there for David Burns, but it's not giving any room by Johan Vanderbilt. They're going to dive down into the corner. Little bit of bumping and banging, but who's it going to be? I think it's Burns by 22 thousandths of a second.
Meanwhile, up towards the front for TCRs, this has now swapped. Waring has swapped with Hardman. That took place last time by down the front stretch. Now looking to swap back. Look at this. Ascend to the inside. Hardman runs along the curb in the hairpin and just about completes the pass and does. Battle for second now up as Wager tries to send his way in for Britannia Ice Sports.
Wow, this is a three-way battle for that first position. All these guys are fighting for the lead. This is
3 wide.
Really nice 3 wide going into Cunningham around to Collier. I can't tell who's going to make it out of this in front of this whole pack, but it looks like it's going to still be Hardman. Andrew Hardman doing a beautiful job to hold on to the lead there.
He's been slowly working his way up through the field. I wouldn't have expected it there. Brown maybe thinking about it 2 for 1.
Wow, great heads up by Johnson, who sees him coming and gives him space, and great braking by Travis Brown. I didn't think there was any way that he managed to get side by side.
Nor did I, but he runs wide there, and that's going to open up the door back for Jeffrey Shulam.
Wheel to wheel, fighting for the 9th position, and it looks like Shulam might have it. Travis Brown cutting back underneath. He's going to fight back on Jeffrey, who's had his hands full for just about the last 5 laps in its entirety, and unfortunately, once again, he is snookered around the outside of Sayat.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
The breadth and width of the styles of tracks in the first two rounds have been something to behold, and tonight will be no exception. Between the tight, twisty confines of Zandvoort and the long, sweeping speeds of Watkins Glen, can our drivers handle the traffic at these venues? Well, we're going to find out soon enough as we get ready to watch the PRL Multiclass Racing live here on Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Young, and with me in the booth tonight is Derek Watson. Behind the scenes, turning the knobs and twisting the dials is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up will be the Netherlands. Load entry on the iRacing service so far, Zandvoort. Let's go ahead and go to our track guide and check it out.
Welcome to Zandvoort. This track just to the west of Amsterdam fell into obscurity, but is getting new life in recent times thanks to a resurgence of Formula One fans in the country. Back in the mid-20th century, it hosted the Formula One Dutch Grand Prix for nearly 30 years. Granted, it was on a much faster and more flowing layout. Nowadays, the 5 different versions which are available to be run are mostly tight and technical. The shortest one is a little under a mile, while even the longest only stretches to a little over 2.5 miles. These tiny lengths, plus the narrowness of the track and its lack of long straights, make passing almost maddeningly difficult. The 2 most common spots are Tarzan, which is the first corner, and Hans Ernst, which is the final chicane. Even though it has recently been updated in the real world with more banking, even on the old track here on iRacing, it has an unusual amount of camber for a road course. The 2 aforementioned turns, along with Hugenholtz and Schieflock, allow drivers to carry more speed than you'd expect. It also gives drivers a chance to take slightly unusual lines. Like most old school tracks, runoff is minimal. Mistakes in a few of the faster turns tend to allow no time for recovery and a big repair bill. Another unique quality is the fact that Zandvoort is literally next to the beach on the North Sea. Therefore, the sand easily blows its way onto the track surface and lessens grip. It's a tricky place to race, and even trickier circuit to win at. But with the beautiful surroundings, great history, and a mob of enthusiastic fans donning orange, you can't help but want to go visit this fantastic venue.
And, you know, I do believe this is the first race I've ever called here with Derek. So Derek's going to have to get used to me poking fun and being honest about things. And he told me before the broadcast started, this is the first time he's ever laid eyes on Zandvoort. So, Derek, I got to ask, what's your first impressions here so far?
Well, my first impression so far is that it's going to be a track for these drivers that it's going to bring back maybe some, I don't say feelings or memories, but like this is a track that's used a lot in real life by different series. I think these guys are going to want to do well. And have memories of maybe F1 racing here or F2 or F3, F4. But you're going to see a 13-corner track. It's a little over 2.6 miles or 4.2 kilometers in length. There's a lot of tight corners here. And something we'll talk about later is the incident limit of this league. And I think that's going to be a big factor with some of these tight corners and some of these, hairpins and whatnot on this track.
Yeah, I mean, not as much of an issue as what we saw last week at Nürburgring. But still, you are right. It very well could be an issue as you approach that 17 incident limit. And of course, we are going to go 35 minutes around here for today is qualifying, getting ready to start for these guys. And we'll be following along with that. But we do want to thank some of our sponsors here real quick. Our broadcast tonight is brought to you by ASR, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced sim racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Tonight's broadcast is also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of your iRacing experience. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
And tonight, also sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL Multiclass series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Are you ready to compete against the financial markets? Well, by supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start your tracking performance today.
All right, so we got to talk about the driver's standings. We're 3 rounds into this 10-round season, and Christopher Kazukawa right now, I mean, 2 for 2 so far on the year. Johnny Luna pulling up. He finished second last week. Rob Campbell now in third. Danik Van Dale, of course, he had some problems there at the Nürburgring. He's sitting in fourth after finishing the first round in second place, but falling to fourth now. Devin Lemke also in there. And so that's your GT4 driver standings. How about those team standings, Derek? Or excuse me, the TCR driver standings, Derek.
That's all right. For the TCR driver standings, it's a little closer actually here, I think, overall. So you have Andrew Waring in first with 68 points. Then you have Andrew Hardman with 2 points back. And then Ozzy is 12 points back. You have Michael Broomhead, 18 points back. And finally, Phil Amaro in fifth place, only 20 points back. This is a really close race coming into this race tonight.
That is right. Of course, Andrew Waring coming off the nice TCR win there last week at the Nürburgring. Let's go ahead and pull up those the team standings now. I keep on wanting to get ahead of myself. And Advanced Sim Racing, 17-point lead over 5.5 Motorsports, and that can go away in a hurry. But even in this young season, Western Mass, VHR, Fossil Racing, they got a little bit of work to do to catch those guys. How do those TCR standings look?
They also have a really close spot. Only 1 point separates first and second as we get them pulled up here on the screen. You got Evolve Sim Sports in first, followed by Slava Ukraini Britannia Sports, only 1 point back. And then Flying Husky Racing, SGS Racing, and then Gulborn Britannia Racing rounding out your top 5, only 63 points back.
All right, so that catches you up on everything. Of course, been a fantastic first 2 weeks of the season, heading into the third week here. And, 35-minute races we talked about. This is an open setup league. You got a lot of guys that'll have some slight variations in what they do, how they do it. We've even talked sometimes about variations amongst teams, particularly we get a little bit later on tonight in the LMP2 class. Drive-through penalties can be at 13x, but of course everybody looks at disqualification at 17x. Derek bringing up earlier on that it might be a little bit of an issue, particularly that drive-through. I'm wondering if I don't think we're going to see anybody with the disqualification. Of course, we see somebody pushing the limits right there during qualifying. And you do get 1 bonus point for a fast lap and a pole. All the more reason to push it during qualifying. And of course, if you finish this race with 3x or less. All right, so Derek, qualifying now underway. Taking a look here at trying to see who we're following right now, but already starting to see there's Nick Horvath, and he is currently sitting actually has not put down a time so far in qualifying. So right now, what we're seeing as far as qualifying times, a lot of the GT4s right now running at about 143, 144 on average. Rob Campbell on the pole right now with a 142.9. TCR guys are down about the 45.8s and 47. So once again, I actually think there's not going to be a whole lot of difference to the GTRs and TC4 classes.
Yeah, I mean, overall, there will be a little bit of difference, obviously, but I mean, the times here, they're not drastic. I think we'll see more drastic times in the next race with the LMP2s and the GT3s, but you're right overall. I mean, the pole time for these two classes is only about 3 seconds apart. So compared to some multi-class racing we do within the iRacing service, this will be pretty close in seeing what we're doing. Now, Adam, you've raced this track before, so talk us through, if you want to gain or lose time in qualifying here, where's the key spot to do it?
Well, obviously the more technical parts. I mean, you kind of go through, and I fully admit I am not a Joe Peak, by the way. Joe can tell you every single corner on the face of this earth, I swear. But for me, it's really kind of the more technical portions, going through 9, 10, 11, and 12. And of course, it starts to open up then once you start going through the Kummerbach and the RN line dike, which is 13, 14, which leads you onto the front straightaway there. But one thing, too, to remember also that people are going to notice is that this is the old version. We do not have the new version of Zandvoort yet in iRacing. So, 13, 14, if you lose time in 12, it's going to carry through, and you're not going to be able to get back on track until turn 1. And a large part of that is because 13, 14 isn't as banked as it is in real life. Not yet, anyway. Eventually, we'll get the new version. We will. Might take some time, but that's going to be very interesting. So basically, the entire third sector, I guess, is a good way to put it.
There you go. This is a track, by the way, that has changed layouts in different times throughout its existence. This is a track that it's very old. Originally was talked about being built actually before World War II, was not built until afterwards, but it has changed ownership and layouts multiple times over its history due to different reasons. At one point, this track was much bigger, or much wider, I should say, if you want to say it that way, and went through some residential areas, but due to some noise ordinances and complaints, it was reconfigured, and now you get to the layouts we look at today.
Yeah, it actually follows a pretty similar lineage to a lot of other European tracks in that, used to be bigger, they clamped it down, used to be used more city streets. Well, now we've got to have more of a closed circuit style, but now we've got what we got, and the more interesting thing to me though is just how narrow it is. I mean, the racing line here is going to be very defined. There's plenty of places, I think, for the GT4s the TCRs to let the GT4s go by when the time comes. But there's also a lot of places where you're going to be tempted to let them by and get yourself into trouble. And it kind of goes back to the parts where you could lose a lot of time here. Turns 11 through 12 is what I'm thinking of. Tightest turns on the course, but might be hard to let somebody by at the same time.
Yeah, that's going to be the tale, I think, of both tracks tonight, and for different reasons, is the multi-class racing and getting by the quote-unquote slower class, if you want to say it that way. At this track, it's going to be very hard with all the corners, and if a TCR thinks they're doing the right thing, it can be problematic. On our next race at the Glen, we'll talk about it later, but it's a whole different thing. The closing rate of the LMP2s versus the GT3s could cause some issues around getting around traffic and when you want to do it and getting impatient. So that actually could be the story tonight for two different reasons for two different tracks.
Yeah, and we're going to show Watkins Glenn, and I think most of our audience is going to be pretty familiar with Watkins Glenn and the thing is, what it brings to the table. And I know we talk about how different Zandvoort and Watkins Glen are, but what about the similarities? I mean, you're sitting there, you have a nice long straightaway. Of course, granted, Watkins Glen's the back straightaway, here's the front straightaway, but we're also running the boot configuration tonight as well at Watkins Glen. So this actually is kind of similar. The biggest difference, though, I think between the two is the width and the technicality. I think it's a little bit more technical here, even with the boot at Watkins Glenn. I think Zandvoort's a little bit more technical. It's definitely going to produce some interesting racing, I think, for sure. Is try to see who we're watching here right now. Times qualifying getting ready to come to an end here. Rob Campbell on pole still so far for the GT4. Nick Mclaughlin here. We're going to follow him all the way to the line, getting ready to come down the front straightaway. And getting that port screen, and I guess he had an off track or something over. He's going to go ahead and bail out of his last lap. See if we have anybody else on track trying to give it a go.
I don't think we do.
Final Pierre Olivier Frechette here. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to point out real quick as we're doing it, I do want to point out Rob Campbell actually improved that qualifying time. When we made note of his time the first time for qualifying, he was at a 1:42.902. His second lap actually was a 1:42.710. So I actually did improve on that and helped open that gap a little bit more.
Yeah, he sure did. And Kazukow really kind of gained a lot too. I mean, he was really only 600ths of a second behind. So could be setting the stage for a pretty interesting GT4 class race here for today. And I'm looking forward to it. TCR's a little bit wider gap, but I still think that's going to be pretty fun as well. See if Andrew Waring is able to kind of maybe come in here and get a double. All right, so let's go ahead and run through the grid here real quick. Just to make things easier, Derek, I'll go ahead and get the GT4s. You get the TCRs on the pole for the GT4s tonight. Row 1, Rob Campbell. Outside of him is going to be Christopher Kazukow. Danik Van Dale is going to be in 3rd, and Cody Hatch in 4th. Nick Mclaughlin in 5th. Peter Nook is going to be starting in 6th, and I do believe we'll be riding around a little bit with Peter Nook here for tonight. Devin Lamke in 7th and Dave Peterson in 8th. They're going to make up row 4. Row 5 is going to go to Dean Giroux and Sean Mullahan. And row 6 is going to go Johnny Luna, starting a little further back than I think he'd like to be, but he might have a way to make his way to the front. Pierre Oliver Frechette is going to be starting outside of him. Kevin Berquist and Christian Lasik are going to make up row 7. Row 8 is going to go to Oval Director Charles Sumner, and then Nicholas Colan are going to be in alongside him. Row 9's Jeffrey Spock and Robert Gallinotto. Row 10 is going to go to Skip Gandy and Pete Thomas, and that is going to round out your GT4 field. Oh, excuse me, there was 2 more. Mike Witt stuck in there along with Sylvian Bergeron. Go ahead, Meredith.
All right, not a problem. So let's go and take a look at the TCR field. On the pole, you have Jonathan Wagner with that 1:45.327. Then Andrew Hardman comes out in P2. Row 2 would be Michael Broomhead and Ozzy Milwain. Row 3, Nick Horvath and Tyler Scrolly. And then Sebastian Villeneuve and James Doherty in row 4. Row 5, Jean-Sebastien Gros and Joe McCauley in row 5. Row 6 is Parker Muirhead, followed with Phil Amaro in the same row in row 6. Benjamin Voyer and Jeffrey Smith in row 7. Brian Hoskins and Jerome Stanton in row 8. Row 9, Pete Blouden and Malcolm Foster. And then lastly in row 10, Andrew Waring, all the way in the back with no qualifying time.
Yeah, and that's a tough break. Looks like Andrew had some connection issues during qualifying. Hopefully he's able to get that figured out here for the race and maybe do a back to the front kind of thing and repeat after that race there that he had in the Nürburgring. All right, that Porsche pace car, just looking for him to break off here in just a moment. But these guys, I think they're getting a little bit on the anxious side here at this point. This track is going to have its challenges. It's going to be interesting. We got 35 minutes of racing here for tonight as they start making their way. I believe this is now Ari Leyendijk. I think we're going to be starting to approach the front straightaway here. Oh, I am incorrect. Remember, I'm still learning this track layout too. It's been a while since I raced here.
We're a little bit late.
Okay, so we still got a little while. But these GT4s have been a very interesting class to watch. It's one of the newer classes in iRacing, and one thing I'm noticing here is there's a lot of Astons up front.
Yeah, there is a lot of Astons up front. I mean, both these classes actually are getting a lot of love from the iRacing service lately. Of course, we had the new GT4s and the TCRs in the last major season update, which of course benefits anyone doing the 24-hour Nürburgring this weekend on the iRacing service to have all those new cars available to you. So both these cars are getting a lot of love. There's a lot of Astons out here. Of course, for the TCRs, you have the new cars. So there's a lot of love for these two classes right now across the service.
Hey, we also, real quick, now that we're done with gridding and we're getting ready to come to green, let's go ahead and thank our friends over at the Major Garage, home of free baseline plus setups, and you can get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our discount code MAJORS, GSRC, you'll get 10% off. So definitely check out my old friends over there at the Majors in the Majors Garage. It's a good service that Mclaughlin and crew are running over there. And now we're getting ready to come to green.
Here we are, turn 13.
Starting to enter that long sweeping, some track maps have it 13 all the way through, some have it 13 and 14. Either way, Ari Lydike is the name of the last corner here, coming down the front straightaway here in just a moment. Pace car is going to pull off. That entrance to pit road is a few feet down. You're going to start seeing it right there as Rob Campbell going to take the green here in just a moment. And check in on maybe something happened to the back of the pack in a moment, because here go the GT4s. Rob Campbell gets a good launch off the grid, followed closely by Christopher Kozikow, Danik Van Deel. They're going to lead the field there through 1 and 3. Cody Hatch, he's having to fight on the outside with Peter Newhook underneath him. I actually think they did touch fenders ever so slightly. Probably not even enough to even get a 0x out of them. They did make just the slightest bit of contact, nose to tail there through the GT4 field. How about those TCRs? How do they look?
Looking good. We had a small checkup problem right before the green came out, which is what we heard. I think it was Joe McCauley was upset about, but they're looking pretty good so far. Mostly single file back here as I'm watching through it, as they're starting to get through the corners down. They are just getting through turn 3 here, and turns 3 and 4 as we're watching along. So good racing overall so far for the TCRs. Let's take a look here and see.
Yeah, Ozzie Milwain right now looks like he's got his hands full with Michael Broomhead. This actually might be one of the better battles on the racetrack in this very early part of the race. Let's stick with it here and see if Broomhead is able to do anything. Broomhead also had a pretty good race going at times at the Nürburgring, and he's going to have his own challenger here from Horvath. Horvath's going to get to the inside. Is he going to be able to get the run off the corner? They're still side by side trying to outbrake each other. Not quite there. Horvath is going to be able to get that line on the drive on the outside. He's almost going to clear him. Doesn't want to chop the nose this early, so Broomhead's able to come back here. A good little battle between these two as Broomhead's going to get the advantage here for a moment. Let's go back up to the GT4, see if anything's going on up there here real quick. We're going to bounce around quite a bit at the start of this race. Rob Campbell already trying to set sail as your top 3 are setting sail on the rest of the field, with Danik Van Deel in third. Danik trying to make up for a little bit of misfortune at the Nürburgring, and so far doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the difference so far, you asked about differences earlier in the GT4s and the TCRs. It's how one is basically a single file and the other has a little bit more racing at the moment. So yeah, these GT4s, you see this line coming around here as we're watching here on the stream. It's all not all single file, but this won't last long as we get through the corners. And
oh, got a couple of spinners back there.
That's not good. That is the 14 car right there.
Yeah, Johnny Luna, not good luck for him. You think he wanted to have a better qualifying effort. Oh no, pulling out in front of your GT.
Oh no, don't do that.
TCRs, that's that might have scared him just a little bit, but everybody's back straight now except Johnny Luna. Johnny Luna just now getting back on track.
Car right behind him too, also coming through the grass. That's,
yeah, he was. They both spun together. I believe it was kind of a tandem spin at the same part of the racetrack in separate incidents. But either way, I think everybody's okay now. We don't need to worry about that anymore. Let's Zach, are you able to pull that up on our GSRC replay machine just real quick? I don't want to leave these battles for too long. And getting that fired up. And
this is Pierre Frechette right here.
Yeah, Frechette. Just, I see that back end step around gets real hot. Somebody had already spun out behind him, and I think Johnny Luna goes in here and gets a little hot as well. It's just bad luck for these guys here very early on. Yeah, so we had a total of 3 cars spin out on their own right there. Man, that's just a tough break. Seeing a few guys actually already on pit road as well. Is Malcolm Foster, looks like he having early trouble along, I think it was Sylvian, I think was having issues as well. All right, anyway, so that out of the way, moving back up through the field, see if we can find a battle here for you to watch. And Van Deel is now, hold on, he's mixed. What happened with Van Deel here while we were looking at the replay?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. We're going to wait and see if we can find the replay of it. But that's another car out. This track has proven to be pretty tricky really early here for some of these drivers.
Van Deel with the self-spin out of third in the GT4s. So, and actually, actually happened. He was the car sitting in the inside as some of the other guys were having trouble. So that is unfortunate for Van Deel there.
Story of the race so far for me a little bit is how much Rob Campbell and Kozakov have quickly pulled out of their lead here for first and second. They're now up to over a 5-6 second gap here over third place. With 1 point, this is now actually third place. Cody Hatch just spun it, or spun a little bit ago, I should say. So that'll be even a bigger lead.
Yeah, so
back.
pretty much, if you're not 1-2 in the GT4s right now, you've either been involved in an incident or had to dodge an incident. So these guys are checking out. So far, I've been mistake-free when the rest of the GT4 field has not been so lucky. The TCRs, for as racy as they've been, we have not seen a lot of contact with them. In fact, let's go and check in on our TC4 our TCR class here with Jonathan Wager up front of that 47 car, and he's got Danik Van Deel now right behind him, is now on a recovery drive in his GT4 McLaren, and then Andrew Hardman, he's starting to actually gap Andrew Hardman here just a little bit. That is Van Deel. Once again, that's not for position, that's a GT4 passing a TCR.
Right, now let's go back in third and fourth. You can see him just in the back of the view there. You got Michael Broomhead and Nick Horvath back here for I guess that's fourth, fifth, with Ozzy Milwain also here for third. So that's one of our tighter battles on the track. That's a pretty cool livery there with the Union Jack on it for Ozzy. And then see a nice battle here. This is probably our tightest battles are going to come down here through. This is turn 3. They're going to come around. You see the telemetry there, or the timing there on the bottom right of your screen. They're going to come down the straight here into turn number 5. I was going to say perfectly in line almost. This is 6 leading into 7 right here. You get a nice little straightaway here before 8 and 9.
And of course, Ozzy Milwain had a great run going last week. Unfortunately, ran into some trouble. And now he finds himself third in the driver's standing after the first 2 races. So he feels like he's got a little ground to make up. And so far, running third in class right now. I mean, he's fourth in class. He's got himself a pretty decent run at it here for today as well, if we can get into some clean air, I think. But right now, you've got your third, fourth, fifth, and 6th cars, and your TCRs all running nose to tail.
So let's ask you, Adam, here real quick, as we're watching this nice battle here. Obviously, the first answer is you want to be in third place right now. But if you're not Ozzy Milwain right now, do you want to be 4th, 5th, or 6th? Where do you feel most comfortable in line when you're racing like this at a place like this track?
I want to be in the front. I mean, there's a little bit of a draft advantage down the front straightaway, sure, but I think I'd rather be in control and kind of in charge of my own fortune, so to speak. These TCRs being front wheel drive too, they also launch a little bit different off the corners. So it's. Yeah, I'd rather be in front and not have to worry really about everybody behind me and trying to control braking points and everything else. Let everybody else worry about me as opposed to everybody worrying, me worrying about everybody else.
That makes sense. I probably feel the same. That said, though, if I wasn't in front, I typically like that spot in the back of the line, because you kind of feel like if something happens ahead of you, then you have full control over when you're involved in the incident. If you're a Horvath right here, who's just in that line, or anyone in that like second, third line, you just feel like you're at the whim of anyone ahead of you not wrecking, and you're at the whim of anyone behind you hoping they can use their brakes in time.
Sounds about right. Now we got to look here with Peter Newhook, and I think this is this Nick Mclaughlin now. are we riding on board with Peter Newhook right now? I'm still learning. Okay, so this is Mclaughlin. I'm still learning everybody's faces here. Peter Newhook has an onboard camera here. We'll ride on board with him here in a few minutes. But he's Dave. Nick's got his work cut out for him right now. Peter Newhook's not going to be an easy guy to pass. He's another one of those guys that's kind of had some up and down luck so far this season, looking to have a good run here today.
Yeah, you can see he's making it difficult. He's riding these corners well. He's not blocking. He's just on point here. By the way, can we talk about that bright yellow chair? I've not seen a racing chair like that before. That's a you're not going to miss him. If you're trying to find your chair at night, that's pretty easy to find in that room.
Well, it works out for me having my rig in the garage. I'd need that on some nights, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is a good battle here, as we were watching there with Newhook, and now we're going to move on here to the outside camera view, and you can see how they're also in line. But this has become a good battle here, as they're going to now, this is turn 8, for those who may be unfamiliar with the track, as they're going to come out here. And then this is where we saw some battles happening earlier. This is the parts of the track I love. The inside-outside corners, I like to call them, where basically one moment you're inside, next moment you're outside. So we're going to watch here. And
there's Peter. There's Peter. I know Peter now.
Okay, so look at what I love about these cameras and what I like about these guys, how brave they are doing the cameras. Like I've streamed myself racing once, and I went back and watched just a small part of all the faces I was making.
Oh, don't ever do that.
No.
Oh.
Horrible idea. Yeah, but there you go. So this is a nice battle here with this, I call that, I guess, a seafoam green and red car that is driving here.
So while these guys are racing, and I mean, you can see 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th right there on your screen, and you go to see 7th here in just a second. That is the meat of your GT4 field from 3rd on back. Meanwhile, up front, Rob Campbell and Christopher Kazakow have put on over 10 seconds now. The lead from Rob Campbell going back to Peter Newhook's now about 11 seconds. So the 2 leaders in this class are checking out, and on top of that, Campbell's starting to just edge ever so slightly away from Kazakow, although Kazakow's able to kind of come back a little bit in the more technical portions of the track. So definitely a 2-horse race right now with everybody trying to fight to get onto that podium and maybe take advantage of somebody else's misfortune a little bit later on. Been a little while since we checked in with your TCR field. Let's go take a look. Jonathan Wager still leading down there. He now has just over a 2-second lead over Andrew Hardman. And just like the GT4 field, those two are kind of checking out because you have to go about another 5 seconds back to find Michael Broomhead. But then once you get to Broomhead, you have another group of cars. Broomhead, Millwayne, Horvath still running essentially nose to tail. Really still some close racing going on, but what I'm seeing is that now that the tires have gotten heated up, we're in the midst of the race, we're starting to see some more rubber on the racetrack. Passing's becoming a little bit more difficult, I believe.
Yeah, it will become a little bit difficult. I want to put our director, Zach Johnson, on the spot. Can we watch Johnny Luna for a second? He unfortunately had an incident really early in this race, and what's going to happen here is we're going to get to talk about something we talked about in pre-race, which is passing traffic or passing the other class. Luna's going to work his way back through the field here, and he's not quite there yet. By the way, Kazakov has put down a new fastest lap. That's a 1:42.6 here, but Luna's about to get up here to traffic, and I wanted to kind of let the audience see what this looks like because and what the difference in these two classes are. You don't think there's a lot, but when you're passing someone or getting passed, it can feel like a lot. We're going to ride on the top here, the hood of Johnny Luna as we do this. He's coming here just as out of turn. This is a 13, 14, depending on how you want to name it. And then they're going to come down the straightaway here. So he'll make some time here in that draft and probably be ready to start making some passes here, I would guess. Down into 1 or heading into 2. So as you said earlier, Adam, not a whole lot of difference in these cars. It's he's not swallowing them up, I guess is the right way to say it. Oh, a little bit of spin there. Ooh, the TCR almost spun out in front of Duna there.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough of a speed difference that you should be able to pass them, but it's not enough that you're going to be able to clear them particularly easy. You definitely need some help from that the lower class to kind of give you some room. But you also got to remember when you're the faster class coming through there that they got their own race going on too, and they don't want to give up ground to that guy that they're trying to pass. I mean, he's going through here right now, trying to work his way through that Horvath, Milway, Broomhead battle that we were talking about. So those guys, they've had a great one going all the way around. And, he's got a little bit of nose damage to go along with it, which is not helping his straightaway speed. So he's faster than him, but he's not a lot faster than him at this point.
No. So last question before we move on from that topic, is we're going to watch a couple other races here on the track. If you had to be in Johnny Luna's spot here, do you like to pass people like one at a time, or do you rather all be in a line and just get by them and then be done with them? Which is your preference for slower traffic?
If it's possible, I'd like to try to get around them all as fast as I possibly can. It's better for me. It's better for you. It's just not going to happen that cleanly in these cars, in this setup right now. So he's almost locked into having to pick them off just one by one, get by them, and get by them cleanly and safely too for everybody involved.
Yeah, now we've been watching this, and thanks to Zach for putting up with that and putting up my request. Rob Campbell now is actually getting that lead closed a lot for the GT Ford. The GT Ford lead. That's down to less than a second, almost half a second now. If we get back up to the front here, that lead is closing in a little bit, and Kazakov with that fastest lap, as we pointed out, is making up a lot of ground here, Adam.
Yeah, I think right now what you got is you got two guys up the front that really kind of know what's going on. They're calm, they're quiet, and they're just driving the racetrack. So we're seeing some fluctuation in the difference in the time. So it's been down to about a half second. I've seen it back up here to about 1.2 seconds. They're just biding their time to a pit stop, which, by the way, if you haven't joined the series before, there will be a pit stop. The fuel is set as such. They will have to come and get fuel at some point during this race. Unlike last week at the Nürburgring, where it's a special case, they try to let everybody just go through. So we will see pit stops here for today. And I've seen a couple of guys already try to come down for early stops and try to play, particularly the TCR class, try to play that kind of strategy out of just pitting early. That typically in this series is not going to work out the greatest for you. You're kind of doing it just in the off chance and maybe getting away from, quite frankly, probably getting away from somebody you don't necessarily want to be around. Seeing a good move up here now. This is that GT4 battle between Peter Newhook and Nick Mclaughlin that we were watching a little while ago, starting to get heated up. Nick is all over the back end of Peter Newhook's Aston here at this point.
Yeah, he is. A close battle here as we're watching this go around. Of course, we saw both these guys' faces earlier. We kind of saw the intensity they were having about it, but they're still in line here and trying to see. Of course, he's trying to see if he can catch up to him, and also trying to defend against the traffic behind him at the same time here. This is turning into a really good battle. I thought they were going to get a little run there, but I guess not.
Yeah, Dave Peterson is who is in that blue and white Porsche that's just behind those two. Behind him is Sean Mclaughlin in the black and yellow Aston, and behind him is Devin Lamke in the red, white, and blue Aston. So still running with third, going all the third through seventh right there in just one pack, and Peter Newhook still at the front of this thing, but. Now, Nick's actually kind of had a couple of bad corners. I think he's starting to look a little bit more in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, he definitely has. I want to point out here, I've seen, I think, a couple more cars starting to come down pit road. I just saw a TCR, I think that was the 11 car, I think I just saw coming off of pit road. So those pit stops will start to come into play. That will break the field up in some ways and also tighten them back together, weirdly enough, at the same time. It'll mean that you might get a lead on someone and maybe you were fighting here, but you might end up finding new battles when you get off pit road here with all that pit strategy coming into play.
That is right. And pit strategy will start to come more into play as we have crossed the halfway point in the round 3 of the TCR GT4 series here at Zandvoort for tonight. Rob Campbell, Chris Koskow still 1-2 in the GT4s, running away from it from these guys. This is Newhook, Mclaughlin, Peterson. These guys have been fighting most of this race so far, but they have found themselves 14 seconds behind the lead. Right now, they're probably not even paying attention to that. They're just trying to get past each other. Recap your TCR field now that we're past halfway. Jonathan Wager still in the lead down there with Andrew Hardman, Michael Broomhead, and Ozzie Milway still running 3rd, 4th, and 5th, running in their own little battle. So there's still plenty of battles to be had here for today. Not seeing a lot of separation, even in the class, still seeing some good fights as we have crossed the halfway mark, getting ready to actually hit the 16-minute mark.
Yeah, we definitely are. And, you know, another thing to think about as we talked about pit strategies here, Adam, is when you decide to pit. Sometimes it's based, of course, on fuel and making sure you get to the end. But sometimes if you're the driver who's 3rd in line and you think you're just having a terrible time getting around someone, you might undercut that pit. As we're going to see some cars come down pit road. Actually, these are the GT4 leaders actually right here. They're going to come down pit road. And then, yeah, some more TCR, or no, more actually. Who's this? This is Sean Houlihan is going to join them down pit road a little bit further behind. Both the leaders here are going to get their pit stops and be ready to pull out any moment here as we're going to turn our attention back here to some other cars in the field. But I was going to say, sometimes if you're that 3rd, 4th guy in line, maybe you want to undercut your pit or pit later than those guys, just so you feel like you're not battling anymore. It's a really interesting thing to think about. I think sometimes we forget all the thoughts that goes into pit stops here about when and how and all that stuff that really plays into it. It's different maybe if you're used to oval racing where you want to pit with people. Here, do you ever want to pit alone? Do you like pitting with people? What's your thoughts on this, Adam?
I am 100% race dependent. Like it all totally depends on how my race is going, what I want to do, because you mentioned undercutting. That's a valid strategy. There's been a lot of races, especially in the MX5s on Monday nights, where I like pushing it as far as I possibly can. You know, a season or two ago that paid off for me with the 2nd or 3rd at Daytona. So it's all a matter of reading your race. But you also are going to be adding fuel. You should theoretically be a touch slower than those around you if you undercut them too much. So you got to be careful with that. If I'm like Peter Newhook right now, I'm in the lead temporarily, I'm running it dry. I'm coming in at the last minute. That's me. But you're just taking fuel on these. You're not taking tires. So pit stops are usually relatively quick, but you can still stand to lose a lot of time if you don't do it right.
You know, the interesting thing to think about too.
And here they come.
Oh, yeah, here they come. Actually, good call on that. That is a tight pit road entrance right there, by the way. We haven't talked about that at all, and I don't know if we're going to get any chance to talk about it tonight for the race is over. But that, if at some point, if we can get a view of just the entrance to that, because from that angle you can kind of see it. But that's a weird pit road entrance. That's very different from a lot of racetracks, I feel like.
It can be. There's definitely been some rougher ones, but you just got to be paying attention when you're coming off the track to be able to kind of get in there and deal with that narrowing up. It's almost like Le Mans, except really scaled backwards. It's scaled down, in my opinion. You kind of saw it a little bit. Yeah, definitely scaled down. I was going to say, though, we talk about, you know, adding fuel and undercutting. Another thing to think about, too, is that your car's going to handle a little different after that pit stop in a good and a bad way, because now you've burnt the tires off. Now you're going to add some weight to it. This is going to feel different. There's a lot of variables that goes into a pit stop decision. It's actually one of my favorite things in iRacing as a driver. It's one of my least favorite things when I'm crew chiefing someone is to make that pit stop decision for them, because you just never know how the car is going to react after you do anything to it. Tires, fuel, adjustments, anything. That decision is a hard responsibility for a crew chief. And the update on the pit stop, Nick Mclaughlin was able to get around Peter Newhook during the pit stop cycle here. So those two have swapped places, and they came out mixed up with the TCR leaders. So Peter Newhook right now, actually he's losing time because he's stuck behind Andrew Hardman. Same for Nick Mclaughlin, stuck behind Jonathan Wager, who themselves should be coming down pit road here any minute now. But we do have a swap for that 3rd position once things cycle through, unless Devin Lamke is able to leapfrog these guys, depending on how much longer he stays out.
Yeah, Lemke actually just got into pit road right now, so he's going to be on there right now, just about to stop. There he goes in his box. So he'll get fuel in this car. So that's going to cycle Rob Campbell back to lead, I'm pretty sure, at this moment. So I don't think Lemke's going to get off pit road quick enough as Campbell.
And on top of that, Kazakow must not have had a good stop, because he went from being just under a second back to over 4 seconds back from Rob Campbell. So first place is really opened up in the GT4, whereas Rob Campbell right now just needs to get through these next 11 minutes as cleanly as possible.
Yeah, I'm really curious what happened here. I'm going to go back and take a look here as we're watching this battle here on your screen. And I'm just going to see if I can figure out what happened, because you're right, that's a big change. Does he just...
Yeah. And this is big right here for Peter Newhook. Now that Mclaughlin has cleared your TCR leaders, Peter Newhook still has to get through Jonathan Wager and Andrew Hardman. And not to mention the rest of that crowd is needing to fight through them as well. So the TCR leaders, who are of course racing for the lead in their class, they're not going to give these guys any more room than absolutely necessary. And while that's happening, Mclaughlin's starting to pull away.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing to talk about too. I think we forget about lap traffic sometimes, is why while you get frustrated, you want them to move or get out of your way or not race hard. They're racing for something. These aren't guys who are 20, 30 laps down. They're racing the guys around them. So they're not inclined to move, if you will.
And that is Devin Lamke. When he came out of pit road, he was able to get in front of Peter Newhook, and now he's clear of the TCR traffic. So Peter Newhook stands to lose two positions in this pit cycle based on when he came down and the traffic he came out into. Andrew Hardman, though, getting ready to come down pit road, just making the call out so everybody knows around him. Peter Newhook should be able to squeeze by on the outside and clear him. Did they make contact there?
I thought they did. That's what I'm saying. For someone who called out their pit stop, that was a little closer than I would like it to be if I was the driver who called out that pit stop.
There was no damage. It's the shading on Peter Newhook's vehicle that kind of gave me a little pause there for a moment. But everybody is fine. I saw a little wiggle. Thought maybe it was some contact. It was not. So we are all good there. Everybody was able to avoid each other. Jonathan Wager and Andrew Hardman now are on pit road, and you have the rest of the TCR field. It's getting ready to pass them up. Broomhead, Horvath, Dowtry should be able to get past them before they all get up to speed. And look at that, Andrew Hardman able to get past Jonathan Wager coming off pit road. They come out into traffic. Now we'll see how things shake out for the rest of the TCR field as, well, the scoring has corrected itself. So I think we'll see how that all shakes out here in a few minutes. But right now, we do know for sure Andrew Hardman has gotten past Jonathan Wager for what should be the lead in the TCR class. I want to point out here, going back up front to the GT4s, this may not be totally over just yet. Rob Campbell still has a very, very solid lead over Christopher Kazakow, but that has gone down by about a second. It's now down to 3.5 seconds. So we'll have to monitor that gap through the final minutes of this race.
Yeah, and you know, what's happened here, as far as I can tell on pit road, is there's a difference in how much gas they took. That's the only difference I can find. There was no penalty, there was no speeding, they were the same speeds down pit road. So it must be a difference in how much gas they took on pit road. So for one of them, that's going to work out maybe better than the other. Does that mean that Campbell didn't take enough? Does that mean Kazakow took too much? We won't know until the end of this race, but and Kazakow is running him down. Now he's decreased that lead down to 3.5 seconds here at the line. Oh, and he got a little...
Yeah. And right now, while we were talking about that, Peter Newhook has been able to retake the position from Devin Lamke. So move Peter Newhook back up into 4th position. He's still got a little ground to go to get back caught up to Nick Mclaughlin. And but he does have the time to do it. This isn't a totally out of reach distance here just yet.
No, it's definitely not out of reach. I mean, he's 3 seconds up to Mclaughlin is Newhook, so not out of the realm of possibility. But Devin Lamke will keep him honest here as they're going to be coming to here. This is turn 7 they're going to come through. And he'll see what he can do to keep up with him and maybe wait for his opportunity to get inside on a corner and make a pass here. There's Luna again, by the way. We saw him earlier in the race with that unfortunate incident. He's still working his way through traffic.
Yeah, definitely not having the race that Johnny Luna wanted to have, and still has a ways to go in this race. He still might be able to get a couple of positions, but this was definitely not the race to have an issue, because the trying to catch up today is definitely going to be on the harder side of things with those TCRs definitely so close in speed in relation to the GT4. You can't really use them that much to gain an advantage. So unfortunate for Johnny Luna, but he is still out there trying to get what he can.
And it's going to be a hard day for him. He came in tied for second in points, and all likelihood as of now is that will not be the case, coming out of this race.
Well, he was fifth, tied for second with him and Rob Campbell. And of course, he has bad luck. Rob Campbell right now in the lead of your GT4s. So Rob Campbell is going to be the one that's going to actually benefit quite a bit here for today if he can just get through the next 6 minutes. That lead, if we check in our GT4 leaders, that lead has now increased back to 4.5 seconds. So maybe Rob Campbell has somebody in his ear saying, hey, you're losing a little bit of time there. You might want to get back into it for a bit. So that red and black advanced sim racing machine is now back on the loud pedal a little bit more, starting to get that gap back to, I think, where he'd be a little bit more comfortable with, about 4.5 and increasing from there. Going back in the other battle that we've been following, Nick Mclaughlin and Peter Newhook, that gap has not really gotten back together. As I say that, as Peter Newhook, did something just happen to him? Because that's Devin Lamke, and I don't see Nick McLaughlin. Did Nick? Yes, Nick's way up there. GSRC replay machine here. So Nick's already there. Getting tangled up with a TCR. And that allows Devin Lamke to get that good look. Sean Mullahan over there as well with Dave Peterson. Those guys have been fighting all race long. It looks like he actually was able to get that position back while we were looking at the replay. But I think what that did do, though, Derek, is that might have put him catching back up to Nick McLaughlin out of reach, out of touch now, unless something happens to Nick.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think it's going to look feasible now. I don't think they're going to catch any traffic that's going to get in their way that's going to help decrease that margin. Now, what is going to happen, though, we'll talk about in a few minutes, is the leaders are going to catch lap traffic, and I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to play out. But no, I think for Mclaughlin, Newhook, Limke on back, I don't think that's going to be a possibility. So it's going to be really hard now to make up 4 seconds here with about 4 minutes remaining here.
That is how things sometimes work out in multi-class racing, though. So, it's still a good battle here with Newhook, Lamke, Mullahan, and Peterson. So these guys are still fighting for 4th position and trying to get some good points here for today. Let's go ahead and check in one more time here. I think that's starting to calm down just a little bit. We'll keep an eye on it, see if it fires back up. TCR leaders, Andrew Hardman, as we start to enter the last 3 minutes, 30 seconds of this race, is now up by 1.5 seconds over top of Jonathan Wager after leapfrogging him on pit road, taking the lead through a little bit of pit strategy there. And they have also set sail on the rest of the field at Broomhead and Waring and Horvath, 11, 13, and 18 seconds back. So it's a 2-horse race in your TCRs. But even then, a second and a half, when it doesn't seem like Wager has had the speed to really pull away or pull up to Hardman, and Hardman hasn't really had the speed to pull away, I don't think that's really going to make a difference here in the final stages.
No, probably not. And Campbell has cleared that lap traffic that I hinted at, but it was not an easy clear that he made to get around them. But that will probably get rid of any odds of him also losing time. So he has now cleared that concern of traffic that I had.
Right, and I'm wondering if we can go back and take a look. The gap was 4.5 seconds between Campbell and Kazakow, and then it's now down to 3.5 seconds. We may try to see if we can pull that up here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to. We'll see if that GSRC replay machine kicks in. If not, no big deal. But either way, Campbell had to take some evasive action, lost a little bit of time to Kazakow, and they are back going straight. Everybody is fine. In fact, what we're seeing, I think, here at this point is a lot of these battles that we've been watching, with the exception of New Hook and Lamke, really starting to calm down as we start to get to the tail end of this race.
Yeah, it is starting to calm down a little bit, and we're going to cut to see at this point in this race. I think now I don't want to say all the battles are done, but a lot of the big battles. I mean, there's going to be some. Oh, there's Gros spun around,
and that's new. That just happened.
And that's not what we were talking about. That is a new spin right there for Gros.
Yeah, and I think it was.
Oh boy.
Frechette just had to miss him, and he almost gets involved in the battle we've been talking about here. So I think Giroux's day has gone from bad to worse, unfortunately. He stays out on track, but I think his pride's probably more hurt than his car is here at this point.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was quite scary. I mean, that's on a track like this with a lot of corners, sometimes you can't see around them. You don't know what's happening till you get there. The iRacing spotter will tell you a little bit, but that's pretty scary. We're going to watch Campbell here. You can see that gap here back to Kozakov. That is about 3 to 4 seconds, depending upon the corners and what's happening here. But that is your GT4 lead right here.
It is, and Rob Campbell is, he lost that time to Kozakov, having to avoid the Giroux incident, but it stayed steady at 3.2 to 3.4 seconds. So, as I believe we'll be coming to the white flag here. Time is clicking down. I don't know if the sim gave them the white flag, but we're going to follow him here just in case he gets the checkered, because Rob Campbell is just driven. He's driven himself a great race, and taking that advanced sim racing machine all the way down like he has. Yeah, he's going to pick up the win. Checker flag is out. Rob Campbell's going to pick up your GT4 win. Fantastic drive from him. Kozakov is going to come across the line here about 2.5 to 3 seconds back. And then your TCR winners here, Hardman. As long as he can keep himself clean here the last couple of corners, I think Hardman's going to be able to pull this off. That gap between him and Wager has expanded to about 3 seconds. And that's another guy. I mean, pit strategy really was the call of the day. Maybe taking just slightly less fuel to be able to get past Jonathan Wager on pit road. That's going to be the difference in your TCR class here for today, Zach.
Yep, so there you go. That is both races at this point here. Both are done here. So you're going to have Hardman winning.
Yeah, Hardman's getting ready to come across the line here in just a minute or so. We're rounding Ari Lyondike. We're coming down to the front straightaway. And here comes Andrew Hardman taking home that TCR win. Jonathan Wager about 3 seconds back. Great drive from them. And then let's go ahead and take a look at Broomhead Waring. They're close to each other here right now. For third for your TCR class, we'll be able to see a run to the line for them. I think Broomhead's going to be able to keep it. He takes Andrew Waring all the way to the wall, though. That was a fun race between those guys as the rest of the field will start to cycle through. Hey, when we come back here in a few minutes, we'll take a look at your full finishing order as we'll round out your TCR and your GT4 class. My apologies. I guess we're going to do the results first. A little out of order. That's okay. Hey, Rob Campbell taking home the GT4 win with Christopher Kozakov, Nick Mclaughlin coming home in third, Peter Nilhook in fourth, Devin Lamke in fifth, Sean Mullahan in sixth. Dave Peterson's going to come home in seventh today, Kevin Bergquist in eighth, Danik Van Dale in ninth, and Nicholas Colander is going to bring it home in 10th. Going to 11th in the GT4s, excuse me, Charles Sumner bringing home that Porsche in the 98 car in 11th, Christian Lasik in 12th, Johnny Luna in 13th on the recovery drive, Jeffrey Seabach will be in 14th, Dean Giroux in 15th, 16th, Robert Galindo, Skip Gandy in 17th, Pete Thomas in 18th, Sylvian Bergeron in 19th, Cody Hatch in 20th. And then kind of going over the last few guys, Pierre Frechette having some issues, but he's able to at least bring it home, and Mike Witt as well. That rounds out your GT4 field. Go ahead and take the TCRs, Derek.
All right, so as we saw the end of the TCR field here, you have Andrew Hartman taking home the win with Jonathan Wager right behind him. Then you got Michael Broomhead in third, Andrew Waring in fourth, Nick Horvath in fifth, Tyler Scaralli in 6th, James Doherty in 7th, Sebastian Villeneuve in 8th, Parker Muirhead in 9th, and Phil Amaro rounds out your top 10. Taking a look at the next page, you got Joe McCauley in 11th, Benjamin Voyer in 12th, Jeffrey Smith in 13th, Ozzy Milwane in 14th, Jean Sebastian Gouraud in 15th, Pete Bladden in 16th, Brian Hoskins in 17th, Malcolm Foster in 18th, and lastly is Jerome Stanton 15 laps down in 19th.
All right, so let's go ahead. I think I'll talk to Rob Campbell, winner of the GT4 class. He's sitting in the interview room. We'll pull him into the booth. And Rob had a fantastic drive today. Rob, front to back, you really, really had Christopher's number here this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks. He had some pressure on me there at the start. I think he actually had the fastest lap, so I was having to give it everything I could just to stay ahead of him. But looked like I had a little better pit stop there and was able to jump out to a lead and just kind of maintain it. But it was a fun battle all the way through.
There earlier on when you guys were running nose to tail, you had first through third there, just kind of right in a row. I mean, was he filling up your mirror pretty good at that point? I mean, or was he just do you felt like he was just riding there and just biding time?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was trying to save fuel. I know the last couple of corners, it looks like he was getting in and out of those corners a little quicker than me. And then there was some other areas of the track where I would pull ahead some. So I think we were pretty evenly matched. We just had different sectors of the track where one of us was a little better than the other. And it just kind of was a good battle. It was fun. Hopefully we can do it again next week.
Yeah, hopefully. And, you went into today. I mean, we're 3 races in now, 3 races with results. You're definitely going to take over second in the point standings. You got some pretty good momentum here to start carrying you through the middle part of the season.
Yeah, well, I'm, I guess, the reigning champ for GT4 from a few seasons back, so I got to try and be respectful here and get a top 3 finish for the season anyways is what I'm hoping for. So I just want to put some pressure on Chris and have a good battle through the season. Like I said, hopefully we can carry it on the rest of the season and have a lot of fun. These new Astons are a blast to drive.
All right, Rob. Well, hey, congratulations again, and we'll see you here next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right, and that was Rob Campbell, your winner of the GT4 Sphere 4 this afternoon, and I believe Derek is going to go and check up with Chris.
All right, he is the driver of the number 16 car who finished second tonight, Christopher Kozakov. Christopher, good run tonight, finishing P2. How do you feel overall about the race tonight?
Thank you. Okay, I guess. I mean, I started my computer about 10 minutes before I got onto like at 8:10. I didn't have any prep, and I was hoping to have prep, but I got stuck in traffic after work, so I got home late and I didn't practice at all before the race. So it was better than expected. Rob is a hell of a fast driver on this track, so he was fun to follow, but I was scrubbing my tires way too much at the beginning and started making mistakes because the car was sliding around a bit, and he got away from me. So yeah, but it was a good race though.
It was a very good race indeed. So towards the end of the race, when you see Rob catching that TCR traffic first, what was going through your head? Were you just kind of hoping they would hold him up? Were you hoping that they would not be there when you got there? What were you hoping for?
So when I saw the pack of TCRs, I was hoping something was going to happen. 100%, yes. Either a bump, something that would slow him down, something fight in front of him or something. But we all got through the TCRs pretty easily. And yeah, at one point, I actually pressed my pit button and not my radio button in front of a TCR. And I feel really bad about that. Sorry, Ozzy. I really feel bad.
Speaking of pits, can you talk us through pit road? We noticed that you were on pit road just a little bit longer than Rob. What happened there? I
overfueled by 2 liters. That's exactly why. Overshot it a bit. I could have went a bit lower on the refuel. I think he was spot on though.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Summit Point next week. Good luck there for the GT4s and TCRs. Anyone you want to say thank you to or hello to or anything like that?
Well, all the guys at ASR and everybody that's supporting us, the series itself, because you guys are awesome, and everybody in the race. It was a really, really nice race. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, good job tonight. As I said, he finished second. He is the driver of the 16 car. That's Christopher Kozakov.
All right, now I guess we'll catch up with Nick Mclaughlin, finishing third in the GT4s here for today. And Nick, you had a great battle between Peter Newhook, Devin Lamke, Sean Mullahan, just about the entire race, but you ended up being the one on the podium here for today.
How's it going, guys? Yeah, that was we were in the thick of it for a while. I wasn't quicker than Peter to overtake him, and it just all 3 or 4 of us or whatever it was just kind of traveled around as a pack. So I just focused on my fuel saving and managed to jump them in the pits.
And on top of that, too, it seemed like things got a little dicey when you guys came out, right mixed up with the TCR leaders. How'd that work out for you? I mean, obviously you were able to get clear of them, but it seemed like you got a little dicey there for you.
It was a little sketchy going through, I think it was turn 1-2 section with a wager there side by side. And I was like, I just wanted to get by cleanly and try to put him behind me, but he's real quick in that TCR and was more of a struggle.
All right, well, hey, Nick, we appreciate you stopping by, and hopefully we'll talk to you again next week.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having us.
All right, now we move on to the TCR class, and I believe Derek's going to catch up here with Andrew Hardman, who drove himself a fantastic race in the big pit road move.
Yeah, he certainly did. He is the winner of the TCR class tonight, Andrew Hardman. Andrew, congrats on the win first off. How are you feeling about the race?
Thank you. Yeah, the race was really, really exciting. I think I got the benefit of luck today in a couple respects. I think that Jonathan made a mistake in the pit stops, and that did me the lead. And then I had some GT4s as sort of a cushion between him and I, where they were a little bit slower than me, but had the speed on the straights. So Jonathan couldn't get by, but I could stay ahead. So it was, easy cruise to the win after that, but certainly a bit of luck on my side.
Yeah, luck is always a good thing as a driver sometimes. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, they say. And I think that kind of helped a little bit of both for you tonight, to be good and lucky. Paid off. Summit Point next week is the track. How do you like that compared to what we did tonight?
Summit Point will be interesting. I think it's a hard track to drive in some of the faster cars, like say a GT3 car. But with these cars, with it being sort of a tight and open track, like parts of it, I think it'll be a really, really fun experience. Awesome. Well, congrats on the win tonight. Anyone you want to say hello to, thank you to, family, friends, pets, anything like that? Yeah, of course. So Team Britannia, Mike and Tyler, they do an awesome job with helping with the setups. We work really well together as a team doing battles during the week, prepping our racecraft. Of course, you guys are putting on a great show, the organizers of PRL. And then you mentioned pets, so I'd like to thank my pet, Greta. She's a cat, and she loves sitting on my lap during races. So thanks so much. You're very welcome. That is the winner of your TCR class. That is Andrew Hardman. He finished P1.
All right, and moving on to Michael Broomhead. And Mike, fantastic race from you, and it just didn't quite go exactly the way you wanted it to at the end, but hey, still a good finish tonight.
Actually, well, ever since the stop, I saw Andrew was coming for me, and obviously with a timed race, it's kind of tricky to know how many laps you've got, but I was just trying to do the best I could and just try to get that gap as much as possible so that I had enough at the end. But it was side by side the last lap, so it was really close, but managed to keep it in the end.
Well, either way, I mean, coming in, I mean, you're going to have a good points tonight as well. I mean, both you and Andrew, Veerwell might be 1-2 here after tonight. I guess we'll see how things shake out, but it gives you a lot of momentum here going into the next couple of weeks. Yeah, exactly. Just, as a team and, all us guys that will work together, quite a few teams here, we're just trying to do the best we can in a new car for us, new series. We're just trying to learn these cars and get the best results we can. And we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. All righty. Well, hey, Mike, appreciate you stopping in. And we got to go ahead and get up to Watkins Glen here for the next round of races. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here on GSRC. We'll be back in just a minute.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every question there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
What a fun race at Zandvoort, and welcome back to GSRC and Round 2 coverage of the PRS Multiclass Series night. After a vacation at Dutch Beach, well, we're back in the hills of upstate New York. Let's go ahead and introduce you to Watkins Glenn.
Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time.
And welcome back. And yeah, we are going to be running the boot layout here for today. 12 turns, and that will include the bus stop or the inner loop, depending on who you ask. Depends the answer that you get for what it's called. We are, of course, running the LMP2s and the GT3 vehicles here for today. And this is a timed race like we just got done watching, but we're going to add 10 minutes. We got a 45-minute here race for right now. We're going to get through the point standings here really quickly. LMP2 driver standings, Paulo Munoz, 74 points. He's got 8 up on Murcio Cuero. David Holland and Graham Sanders are tied for 3rd, and Ignacio Fredes is in 5th in GT3 standings now with Derek.
All right, let's go and take a look at those standings here. You got Carlos Villa with 68 points. He's at a tie with Vincent Trepanier, 2nd. And then you got Ted Lowendick, 1 point back. So a really tight battle here for 1, 2, and 3. Ahmad Ganest, and 15 points back. And in 5th is Christopher Rhines.
All right, your team standings looks like this with Pure Sims Esports up by 46 over Punto CL Racing Blue. Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing is only 2 points behind those guys. And Delta Sport and Punto CL Racing Black taking up the back half of your top 5.
All right, let's go and take a look at the GT3 team standings as they pop up here. You got ASR Esports Purple, 124 points. You got SRTE Blue, ASR Esports Cyan, Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing, and Vector by RSR is 5th place, only 57 points back. There's a couple tight battles here in these points.
All right, so your race details here for today, as I mentioned, 45-minute race. Other than that, everything is set up almost exactly the same as the GT4s and TCRs that you just got done watching, from an open setup to drive through at 13x, disqualification at 17x. You get a bonus point today for a fast lap, pole, 3x or less. And I think a lot of people will be coming home possibly with a bonus point for 3 incidents or less here for today. Just simply by staying off of each other. Watkins Glen isn't a big track that's known for a lot of off tracks. It's not to say that you can't get off tracks here, Derek, especially in the bus stop.
Well, the bus stop is one, but with this new configuration of Watkins Glen that iRacing put out 1 or 2 updates ago, there's a couple of new spots. Turn 1 now is an off track. If you get all 4 tires above that line up in turn 1, that's an off track. And then if you push turn 10 too hard, you can get one as well. So you might be surprised how many people would get that 3x or less just by pushing the car the way they're used to.
For the record, I just got done running low 79 race here, and I got 2x until the end of the race, and I got a lot more than that, but for other reasons. All right, hey, thanks to Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups, 24/7 coaching, and more. Head to majorsgarage.com and use our special discount code. Excuse me, I'm reading the completely wrong thing. Sorry, folks, this is only my week 2 at this. Paulo Munoz on the pole, Graham Sanders outside of him, Marcio Cuero in 3rd, Carl Modoff in 4th. Row 3 is going to go David Holland and Christian Eisler, and row 4, Miguel Vigo and Lucas Lupo is going to be in 8th. Horatio Caquin in 9th, and Felipe Riquelme is going to be in 10th. Row 6 in 11th on back is going to go to Mauricius Velasquez, Ignacio Rodriguez in 12th. TNC Layton is going to be in 13th. Francisco Montini is going to be in 14th. Rodrigo Mies in 15th, and Lance Loomis in 16th. Ryan Skalny is going to be in 17th, and Kyle Strakas in 18th, and Matt Hilton in 19th, rounding out your LMP2 field. How about those GT3s, Derek?
Let's go and take a look at the Gt3 starting grid. Rafael Russo put himself on pole with a 142.190, followed by Ted Lowendick. Carlos Villa and Rafael Eckhard are in row number 2. Vincent Trepanier and Ahmad Ganest are in row 3. Kevin Norris and Jean-Marc Tremblay are in row 4. J.R. Williams and Tommy Brisson round out top 10 in row 5. Moving on to row 6 and 11th is Devin Van Roy, and then Alexander Brayton on the outside of there. Tony Costello and Christopher Rhines are row 7. Marc-Andre Hardens and Christopher M. King are in row 8. And then 3 drivers without qualifying times is the 73, the 55, and the 217 car, and then we'll round out your top 19. As I said, they have no qualifying times.
All right, so taking that long pace lap around here, and does look like we got a little bit of haze in the air. I think that's just kind of how the track is now. Yeah, there's your weather with the humidity at 61%. And I think iRacing, when it puts the humidity up there at that high, it kind of wants to add just a touch of haze. But we are at 12:13 in the afternoon. So lights are on. on the cars, but I think it's just because of the cloudy conditions that we've got going on right now. And other than that, I don't think the weather is going to be much of a factor here for today. These LMP2 cars and these GT3 cars are usually pretty well behaved in adverse weather here, Derek.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I love about this weather, even despite the haze, that low track temperature we saw on the screen a second ago, that's going to provide a lot of grip throughout this track. So those LMP2s especially are going to love that with all that downforce. They're going to be able to fly through these corners and make up a lot of time when they need to. I'm looking forward. This is one of my favorite road courses. I love driving this. There's obviously a reason why this is probably the most used road course paid content wise in iRacing. See how fun it is. I'm looking forward to this as they're down into the boot section of the track here on the pace lap here, ready to go in this PRL multi-class race.
Yep, heading toward the heel of the boot, and the LMP2s are heading toward the heel of the boot as the GT3 class is going through the chute and the toe right now. So we still got a minute or two here before we go racing. These LMP2 vehicles, though, very, very different from Sebring, which we had last week. So this is it's going to be possibly quite a bit of a different race.
It can be a different race, and also it's a different race in the two classes of this race as well, because while certainly in road racing, you may always feel like you can't take a break as they're going to come down into turn number 10 for the pacing for the LMP2s. But in the LMP2s, there's no break here to stop and breathe for a second as we watch these corners go by. You're always prepping for the next corner in these cars. So it's going to be very different, as we'll talk about in these 45 minutes as well. But here we go, Adam, almost ready to get the green flag.
Yeah, Porsche safety car getting ready to pull off here. Paulo Munoz will be taking the green flag, and he's on the loud pedal. He is away. We're green flag here at the Glen. Paulo Munoz actually gets a pretty good jump up behind him. You are too wide, stacked pretty far back as Cuero, Sanders are side by side. They're going to try to go side by side here up through the S's.
That's not the way I'd want to take the S's there. I think we're 2x2 we saw in that camera shot there through the S's. That's awfully, awfully scary. Now you're seeing the GT3s here just getting down to the 90 or turn 1. And as he said here, that right there is kind of scary as you get up and above that yellow and red barrier. That's a 1X.
Yeah, but even then, everybody looks like they're through safely. Usually turn 1, and going up through the S's can sometimes be almost the danger zone for a lot of these guys. But it seems like everybody's through as the GT3 class makes their way through the inner loop.
Trouble in the bus stop for the GT3s. I don't know if we're going to get to see it or not, but there was definitely a wreck in the bus stop. That's the other danger spot for the track as well. You see someone turn around here. That is the
John-Marc Tremblay. John-Marc Tremblay. Looks like he just lost it over the curbing and nosed it in the safer barrier. So unfortunate for John-Marc Tremblay. I don't think we need to go back and take a look at that, but plenty of battles right now through here as the field is just getting sorted out. GT3s look like they're about sorted out, but these LMP2s are still going hard at it.
Yeah, this is one of those corners right there. It's also a 1X possible if you push it out of that corner too hard. So this is a fun track. I love this track. I raced this car this last weekend in IMSA Endurance, and it's a lot of fun. And look at this side-by-side battle here coming down into turn 1. Let's take a look.
And to be fair, at turn 12, yeah, you can't push it there. It's not so much an off track as you meet the safer barrier, because you no longer have that little bit of runoff from the corner, from the curbing to the wall. So that's caught a few people I've seen here the last few weeks on this new layout.
Yeah, look here going through the bus stop. They single filed it out. I got really nervous here. Oh, through the grass. That's it's not the preferred line.
I'm pretty sure he's probably saying that to himself right now as well. Noticing a lot of the LMP2s here being very, very aggressive on the curbing, but so far the cars are handling pretty well. I think the LMP2 handles this curbing a little bit better than some of these GT3s, but we got a battle for your GT3 lead right now as Ted Lowendick, and Rafael Russo going at it. Could we see another shoey from Ted Lowendick? I'm hoping so. We'll have to talk him into it. But he's got that machine right now on rails, just riding in the coattails of Rafael Russo.
Yeah, I don't get to talk into him that hard. They'll watch him here get down through this section of the track. It's a fun section. It's a little bit more challenging than just the NASCAR variant, but he's going to come down here, make this right-hander. He's going to try to stay in line. This is one of the corners come up there where he can maybe set up a pass here if he can get enough speed. Don't think he's going to close the gap here. You're seeing a new fast lap there up on the top of your screen, by the way.
Yep, Paulo Munoz, of course, setting that fast lap in his LMP2 machine, but these GT3s continue to just ride single file for the most part. This will be another class as well where we're going to get pit stops. It is going to be for fuel. I doubt you will see people take tires here for today. But maybe somebody in the back of the field might want to try to take something depending on how wear looks. But I think with the low track temps and everything here today, I don't think it's going to be a major issue. As we do have an off, we do have somebody that looks like, is that the outer loop there? On the outside of that, David Holland has fallen out of 4th position. Yeah, look at that and see what happened to Mr. David Holland.
Yeah, we'll wait for the replay to see here. But this is a really easy spot on the track to lose it. We're going to see the GSRC replay come up here. Yep, he's going to get through the bus stop. As I suspect, he's going to... Oh, no, that's not what I suspected. He didn't even hit the curb. He just blew right by the curb, I think, and just kind of lost the car. I was going to say an easy way to do that is actually get up on that curbing out of the bus stop and get too aggressive. But no, he took a different path altogether.
Yeah, it looked like he just got a little out of sorts on the entry to it, and from there, it was just kind of all she wrote. GT3's starting to get a little bit more dicey. That was Rafael Eckert stepping out on Carlos Villa. Does get back into line there, but you got that team of Trepanier, Aaron Ness, Kevin Norris, they're all right there, just chomping at the bit to see what happens in front of them.
I want to say it's off screen, and that's okay as we're watching the GT3s, but Munoz keeps putting down fast laps. He's up by himself about 1.5 seconds ahead, but you're going to keep seeing those alerts. And look at how far they track out. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, Francisco Montini loses it coming out of turn 1 and noses it into the tires. Don't see a lot of damage on his car. I think that's another one of those, it hurt his pride more than it hurt his car kind of things, but he still has fallen out of, I believe it was 12th or 13th position.
Yep, now they're going to come down through the final corner here and track it really wide up to the wall. Come down to start the straightaway here. You know, one of the beautiful things about driving an LMP2, though, when you see, you know, incidents like that where you just barely tap a wall, the damage repair time on those cars is not a lot. Typically, you can come down pit road, and that can be fixed in maybe 30 seconds at most, and you're right back on track. It's different than these GT3s. If they were to do that, that'd be a long repair on pit road.
Also seeing something that happened to Horatio Calquin has fallen out of the top 10. It looks like he had an unfortunate meeting with the tire barrier a little while ago as well. So some bigger names in the LMP2s having some problems, but the GT3s, they have been calm and clear here so far this afternoon.
They have. Look at that, another fastest lap. But yeah, they have been calm and cool and collected. And that's sort of one of the benefits of that class, is that you get some time down those straightaways to stop and breathe and think and gather yourself before the next corners. Compared to those LMP2s, you're always on for the next corner. There's no break time. There's no mental prep. You're there. And I think that's what happens sometimes in this class difference with these cars.
Well, there is quite a bit more speed difference in these LMP2s and GT3 combinations. Right now we're looking anywhere from about 11 to about 14 seconds a lap. So your LMP2 leader here, Paulo Munoz, we keep seeing him go purple and set the fastest lap. He's working his way around the toe, while the back end of the GT3 field is coming out of the boot. So we're going to be getting into lap traffic here really within the next probably lap and a half, 2 laps. We'll be in the midst of that.
You know, Adam, and something we talked about in the first pre-race and we'll talk about now too, is the difference in these two races about how lap traffic is going to work, because the closing rate from an LMP2 to a GT3, when you're in an LMP2, it feels insanely fast. And sometimes you're not prepped for it. You're not ready for how fast you can come up on one of those guys. And the GT3s worse aren't prepped for it. They think they have more time to get out of the way or stay in the way or whatever they want to do. It's really interesting sometimes how that works out.
Oh, can we have a move here for the GT3 lead? We're seeing some defensive moves here. It's Ted Lauendig's going to look on the outside of the bus stop. Rafael Russo had to go defend. Carlos Vila and Rafael Eckhart are just back there. Come on, guys, do something as they start making their way through the outer loop and down into the boot section. That's
interesting to see. That's the second lap in a row we've seen him do that. So I think that may be him hinting at a plan if he thinks he gets close enough for it. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the second time he's done that now. So he must think that's going to work at some point.
Just got to be careful with the blocking there. We have seen that end in tragedy going into the bus stop. But I don't imagine them really getting too feisty with it until later on in the race. As these, other than that, I mean, that's really the biggest move we've seen out of the top 8 cars. I think at GT3 he's in here in the last couple laps.
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, I know that we had an incident to go look at, but look how wide they track out there in that corner. Like, it's so, if you're not used to road racing, it's so weird to think they go out that far. But that's the line, is how far you should get out there. So I always find it interesting to see.
In the times we've gone to COTA as an iRacing group and everything else, particularly when they had WEC and IMSA and everything there, we would always just sit there and watch those guys go past the track limits and just say 1x, 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 1x in our head, because we've had iRacing ingrained in our heads for, you know, in my case, geez, 10, 11 years now. That's incredible. Right. All right.
All right. Well, we're coming up to our first bit of traffic here for our leader. So he's now, as we're going up to the S's, going to start to pass that traffic. You get a nice onboard here. Looking at how close he gets to that wall here out of the S's. Now let's watch how fast the bus stop closes here with the traffic. Not going to break here probably until the 2 board, if not later. And that's scary to watch how close how he aims for that inside wall. But that's the line for an LMP2 to avoid those curbs, is to basically point your car towards that wall coming to the bus stop. Oh, he's gonna weave through that traffic. That was really scary.
Yeah, that was a little bit overheaded, and that was Mauricio Cuero going wide and seeing his car backing into the wall. I think that's the 8 of Tony Costello. But that LMP2 traffic and GT3 traffic mixing up is pretty dicey in a lot of places here.
That was both perfectly well parked and also not an appropriate parking space all at the same time. Now, what can happen here, though, for your leader, Munoz, is he can either gain a lot of time or lose a lot of time right here in this traffic. You see the scoring up on your top left of your screen. At last time by the line was a 1.496 as we come out of the final corner down the straight. I want to watch it here. How far is he ahead of Cuero here?
Yeah, he probably very likely has a meatball after everything that happened to him in that hard contact. But I got to say, Carl Modoff, Vigo, Graham Sanders, they have had a whale of a time trying to get through this traffic. And Paulo Munoz is in the thick of this as well, almost getting squeezed. That was Rafael Russo. That is your GT3 leader that just got squeezed into the barrier.
I would like to see that again, because I have some questions over maybe who was...
Yeah, actually, it might be the other way around.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like the LMP2 kind of squeezed himself into a spot there where he didn't necessarily have the appropriate space for, honestly.
Well, I think that's a good call to go back on that the GSRC replay machine. We had our 2 leaders getting together, coming out of the S's. So it's been Rafael Russo and Paulo Munoz. So we're going to wait on that here for just a minute. This race all difference. You want to go back to that here at some point, but yeah, this is crazy traffic here at this point. Finally starting to see some organization with the GT3s on one side, LMP2s on the other. Man, we took a while to get there.
We did. I want to say, look at the difference in traffic here compared to the last race. We talked about last rate and the closing rate and lap traffic being in the way, but look how much more extreme this is.
Oh, there's 2 cars. Yeah, that was Rafael Eckhart. That was, I believe, 4th place in your GT3s. And Felipe Ricami. Oh, hard contact. Who's that spinning around? Going through.
Not sure who that was before they reset. I couldn't find it, but that was a hard hit there.
And then, Montini also got caught up on the tail end of all that. I think he was the one that made contact with Rodrigo Mies. And that was more of an innocent one. He just got forced wide, caught the grass, and if you're going to have an accident there, it's usually going to be a big accident. It's just a track.
These cars in line abusing these curbs. Sorry to cut you off, but look at that, how aggressive that was.
We have a lot of cars that have had damage or otherwise out there, including your former GT3 leader, Rafael Russo, is on pit road. I think now is a good time to go back and take a look at that there, if we can pull up the GSRC replay machine, because like I was saying, that was race altering from what happened just a couple of laps ago. And Rafael Russo actually had enough damage. He had another self-spin going through 10. So that was...
Now, the question to have, though, here, Adam, with how far, I mean, we're only about 12, 13 minutes into this race here, 14 maybe. If the guys are pitting now due to damage, will they be able to put enough fuel in from here to finish the race, or are they now forced to a two-stop strategy?
That is an awfully good question. One that I do not have an answer to be totally 100% honest with you. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. But I would think that they've got to almost go to a two-stop strategy at this point.
Yeah, because while definitely you don't want to have to pit for that reason, we're going to watch them come down this back straight here into the bus stop. While you never want to have to pit for damage, you definitely feel like, well, maybe there's a small light at the tunnel here if you can just get your pit stop out of the way early.
I don't think we're going to be able to show that with the Russo and Munoz, but that was a pretty big incident with those guys, and actually still quite a bit of discussion going on about it as these guys here now, as the traffic has finally started calming down. Let's get our bearings back to straight here. Paulo Munoz is still in the LMP2 lead. Graham Sanders has found himself just under 2 seconds back behind him. You have to go back another 3 seconds or so to find Vigo and then Velakis. So that LMP2 field has really been shaken up. And Carlos Villa and Ted Lowendeck, that's really kind of separated. But Lowendeck has now found himself in the clutches of Trepanier in the GT3 class.
Yeah, he definitely has. That in some ways looks like the closer race here to follow. But you know, anything's still possible with the Glen. This is a fast track where the smallest mistake will cost you a lot of time in any of these corners. You'll just come up through one here. Now up through the S's are going to be these LMP2s. Watching come down the back straight, prep for the bus stop again. One of the things about this track I love the most is that it is a fast time. It's, you know, under race conditions for an LMP2, what, a minute 31, minute 32, 33, depending upon your tires. It feels like you see the same part of the track just numerous times here, because you will. It's not like a longer track like a Nürburgring, like you said we did last week, or, you know, other tracks where you're only going to see it a few times. Now, you get to know this track pretty well, and you get multiple opportunities to hit your mark.
Right, you know, and these guys being at Sebring last week, you know, Sebring is Sebring. It's a classic, but it's also, quite a bit slower, in my opinion, you know, with the exception of the back straightaway there than what you find at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen just opens itself up more to the craziness that we just got done seeing, just because it's a lot more racy. It's you don't have the sharp corners that you do at Sebring. All the corners that you have that are quote-unquote sharp are very flowing in that regard, and you could take multiple lines through them in a lot of ways. And even with the multiple lines, we just saw quite a few guys just kind of get into each other there. But next time the LMP2s start coming through the GT3s, I imagine it'll be a little bit easier now. Well, A, that they've thinned themselves out, but B, there's a little bit more separation between not only the two classes, but within those classes as well.
Yeah, the separation will definitely help, as well as, you know, now you kind of know now as a driver, you think you know, at least you think you know who you can trust and not trust getting around people. Well, that means you think, oh, that guy let me by last time, or wow, that guy really blocked me last time. Or vice versa. As a G3, oh, these guys are coming through here, I'm gonna let them go. They race me really clean, you know, or you have to be very nervous if you think someone comes through who you didn't trust the first time. So it's a much different experience getting lapped the second, third, and fourth times because of feelings and emotions like that. Sometimes that driver mentality takes over where you want to give someone a hard time because you don't like the way you were raced.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. You know, it's in my opinion, it's like if I'm in the GT3 class, it's like I don't want to be remembered, because if you're remembered, that means at some point something happened and somebody perceived you did something wrong, and they're going to race you totally different than what they otherwise would. If they don't remember you, they're just going to let you by. Or you didn't cause them any heartache. They're not going to give you any headaches. They're not going to try to squeeze themselves into places that you otherwise probably wouldn't go. And not saying that's anything that happened with that particular incident, but yeah, it definitely made things interesting out there.
We're riding on board here. You can see inside this car as we're going to ride on board here, and you can see just a view of what the driver sees here. It's obviously much different than what we see in the overhead cams, but it's a fun track we're going to come. I think this is now going to be...
And I believe this is Caven here. So Caven's in the zone thick of a battle that, quite honestly, we've been kind of neglecting a little bit with Ted Lowendijk and Vincent Trepanier and Caven Norris there. You know, and if these guys keep racing the way they are, Arnaud Jeunesse is going to be able to catch up with them as well. But Caven looks a little focused in this car there. That's right. Take a deep breath down the front straightaway. You've earned it. Now get
Not
back
only
into
focused,
it.
but look at the handwork. Look at how hard his hands are moving. I don't know if that means that he's got a tighter setup than he wants, or if it means that he's just uncomfortable in the car, but those inputs at times are a little stronger than I think you would want them to be. Maybe his force feedback is turned up high, but look how much they kind of wobble back and forth here. Those being his hands, by the way. It's kind of interesting to watch him do that. And of course, that's how a GT3 car feels. It's obviously much different for the LMP2 guys.
We are still seeing most of the vehicles with lights on. Just want to remind everybody, it is 12:30 in the afternoon in virtual sim time here in Watkins Glen, New York. Is been mostly cloud cover, I think, has these lights on here for this afternoon. See a little haze in the air. Track temperature, though, is still, it's come up a little bit, but it's still pretty decent, 95 with southwesterly winds, 3 miles an hour, not really playing a role here for today. So, really, and that's probably part of the reason those LMP2s are they're grippy right now. I mean, they're grippier than normal. They're always grippy around this place, but here right now they are flying around here.
Yeah, you know, someone talked about real quick. This is a side note for people maybe watching the first time or not familiar. You're gonna say, "Oh man, I see white headlights, I see yellow headlights. What's going on?" Well, that's a rule that I know was implemented by different racing series. The biggest one I can think of being IMSA, where as a way to help the drivers know who's coming up behind you or who's around you, your faster class, your LMP2 cars have those white headlights, and then your GT3 cars in this instance will have those yellow, I call them yellow. I don't know if Adam, you have a better name for them. They have those yellow headlights, so you can kind of see who's coming behind you, and it helps a lot if you're a GT3 car to know, oh gosh, that guy's going to pass really fast because those are white headlights.
Yeah, just another way to kind of help the drivers differentiate between the different classes while they're on the track, because, well, I mean, we got somebody coming up behind you. You can't exactly see what kind of car they're in or what their number plate looks like. So the headlights have been a good way to do it. That's been developed here. I should say developed. It was an idea that was always out there that was very easily organized, I guess is the better word for it. Is Paulo Munoz making his way back through GT3 traffic again. Rafael Russo coming up on him. And see if we have any trouble here. Rafael Russo lets him by, as Rafael Russo has come back on track after that incident a little while ago. And falling out, of course, 6 laps off the leader after the incident there that put him in the wall. As one car, I believe he just blew the bus stop and he had to come to a complete stop. Is now Graham Sanders in his LMP2 is clear in that same gaggle of traffic. Watch now. The LMP2 guys have pretty well spread out here for the most part. I'm not seeing too many LMP2 battles at the moment. Oh, although
Oh,
Christopher King stopped in the middle of the track. Oh, it gets nailed. Who was that? Just nailed those. Horatio Calquin, whose day was already not going the greatest.
We have a different incident as well, I believe. Who was this spun around here? That was King. You're right. I'm sorry. That's the same one. That's, yeah.
He had a couple of close calls with a few of the other cars, including, I think, one LMP2 that bumped him. But Horatio Calquin definitely was the one that got the worst of that, unfortunately.
That's out of the chute here. Just spins it, loops it around in the corner. Probably got into it a little too hard and slammed on the brakes, would be my assumption there. Oh, that's...
And I want to say he also was the one that we saw just stopped a second ago, too, that had blown the bus stop. So it was kind of already off his game. And, you know, it's one of those things that, as you know, I mean, you've raced quite a bit. Once you start making mistakes, it's easier to keep making mistakes. And,
yeah, that was a hard hit there, too, on the inside. I think that was separate than the one that put him airborne. But, yeah, so here we got a car coming down pit right after that contact here.
Looks like Calquin. And I would have to say that Calquin's day may be done as we're back into traffic once again. Oh, seeing somebody really go wide.
That's going to be a slowdown, I would imagine, from the iRacing service. They'll make him give that time back.
Yeah, that was David Holland there going for a trip through the grass. Unfortunately, the iRacing stewards, if you will, doesn't really make a distinguishment between whether you got pushed off in an incident or not. I mean, if that's a slowdown, he'll have to try to serve that a little bit. But he's in traffic. He might be able to serve that without actually slowing down a lot.
You know, the difference in that moment, too, for us and him is we're like, oh, my gosh, look at that. Like, how does he do that? But he was stoked he survived that. I guarantee you.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, hold on. I got to spin. Who is this? This is Rodriguez. Spun around here.
Ignacio Rodriguez spinning out of 9th position.
After contact with a GT3, hopefully we'll get a replay of it here. He was coming... Oh.
That was a hard contact with the GT3. That was Christopher Rines. Not even sure Christopher knew he was there with the way he moved over. It was just an accident.
Right. I mean, the good news here for Rodriguez, if you can find any in that moment, though, is no real contact. This is a pretty easy part of the track where if you get spun around, if you spin yourself, it's pretty easy to find trouble there. There's a lot of guys coming out there trying to make up speed, trying to get back in the pedal really quickly. So overall, I don't want to say lucky for him, if that's not the right word, but it could have been worse.
Well, we definitely had our share of accidents that could have been worse, as we do have a battle on track now. Ciente Layton is out there with Mauricio Vallecas. They've have to get around Sebastian Mariner here as they're going to go 3 wide. A little bit of contact there as they go into the toe section of the boot. Still side by side. They're side by side behind him as well for a second there. That was Holland and Eisler. So 4-car battle here right now for 7th position on, or excuse me, 6th position. Actually, I'm losing track. 5th position on track. Oh man.
You know who was upset by that whole thing? That GT3 car. He's like, man, why do you got to be 3 wide? Yeah, they're fighting really hard here. We got a new fastest lap again by Munoz. We're my goodness, we're almost a half hour into this run, and he's still setting fastest laps up there.
Yeah, starting to get light on fuel and be able to show off for it. He's still a little bit off his qualifying time, but not by much.
Yeah, speaking of that, I want to bring that up for a second as we're watching some more cars come down pit road here. You talked about the difference in speed of these cars. Let's prove it real quick here. You can have Munoz qualifying for the record at a 129.883. And then you had Ted Lowendick at a 142.309. So a much different speed gap than what we talked about in our last race tonight.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why you're having some problems. I mean, a lot of these things that have happened here today have. Yeah, I know people are going to point fingers and everything else, but a lot of it's just been the nature of how fast you're coming up on one another and in traffic, along with your own class, and you have the faster class coming. You may not even see them or even know they're there because they may not even be on your relative until it's too late. So it's just a lot, not all, a lot of what I saw today has just so far been racing incidents and multi-class racing when you got a really fast car in the LMP2, and GT3s are quick, but they're not that quick, if you know what I mean.
Right. Oh, for sure. You know, I know I keep comparing this to IMSA because this is the current IMSA class, is LMP2s and GT3s. Think about it, though. Right now, there's only 2 classes in this race. Think about IMSA from last year or previous years, or think about other classes like when we race Nürburgring this coming weekend on iRacing. There's multiple classes of traffic and how treacherous that can be. Luckily for these guys, there's only 2 different classes to deal with right now. I think there's going to be there's 4 of them at Nürburgring this weekend. There's GT4s, TCRs, P-Cups. So at least 3. I think there's also a 4th that it's not coming to mind right now.
At real life Nürburgring?
And Sim Nürburgring. There's also, sorry, the GT3's in there as well. So, yeah. I mean, it's as treacherous as my point is, as treacherous as this is for these guys to get through just 1 class of cars. Imagine doing it for 3 or 4 classes of cars, possibly all at the same time, depending upon when you hit that traffic.
It is definitely an interesting point as some of the guys start to make their way back up. The pit road is going to continue to increase in how busy it is here over the next couple of minutes as all of that action, not only have we passed halfway, we have blown past halfway. We're starting to enter into the last third of this race here as almost about 15 minutes on the clock, or 15:53 right now. So this race is going very fast for a lot of guys, and because of everything, we have not really checked in with a lot of the leaders. We got our GT3 leaders on the screen, and right in time to see, I think it was that was Ted making a little bit of a mistake. Taking that extracurricular line, if you will. He has to give up 2 spots. That's going to move Carlos Villa up into the lead temporarily here in your GT3 class. Now, a rare mistake from Teddy there, so we'll see what he can do here and if he's able to get it back. But it might not be a bad idea. Let's go ahead and check in. I mean, Paulo Munoz, we haven't looked at him in a while. In the leader of the LMP2 class, still fighting through traffic. He's going to be perpetually fighting through traffic now. But he has stretched that lead, and pit stops are in the midst here. Graham Sanders should be a lot closer once everything cycles through. But he does have a 20-second lead at the moment, but it won't be like that once everything cycles through in the next few minutes. But even then, before Graham Sanders came down, I think it was something like 11, 12 seconds. So Paulo Munoz is very, very quick for today and just leaving the fighting to just about everybody else. But let's... in fact, I think that's about it. I think we go back to the GT3 battle because that battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I think, is still the battle on the racetrack here at the moment. Yeah, it definitely is. They're going to come down here into the 90 into turn number 1 as we're going to see. Paulo Munoz pulling on Munoz on the pit road. Sorry, I missed that for a second, but yeah. So that is going to close up that gap to Sanders here, and then we'll have that timing back accurate, if you will. So now we're going to up to the S's with the GT3s, and they're going to come out of this S here and start to make that run down straight away. Got a 3-car line here, all trying to race down the GT3 leader. This is where the bus stop gets hairy when you got this line, because if one person misbrakes, it's going to backfire really quickly. Yeah, it's just got to be heads up as we're going back on board here with Kevin Norris. I think I need to do that, with my garage set up here. I mean, just put up some nice blue lights, just hang out a little bit, relax. Oh yeah, hue lighting is key for racing experience. Yeah. But Kevin's probably one of the most focused guys that I've seen out there. Ever since GSRC really put in these, start offering up these cameras and be able to show these cameras and bring that experience to you folks at home. And Kevin's gotten intensity out of him, that's for sure. Yeah, you can see it there. Looks like a nice triple monitor setup and an LMP2 on his outside. So even had a moment to scratch his nose there in the middle of traffic. That's some skill. And now riding on board Teddy. I have a feeling we didn't want to ride on board with Teddy when he was making that mistake a little while ago, and there he is, kind of stretching the back a little bit. And he's going to get that time back here a little bit. I mean, he's still hanging on the back of Carlos Villa. He's made up the lost time already. Excuse me, that's Vincent Trepanier in front of him, and then that's Carlos Villa in front of them. I don't think our GT3 race is over just yet. We got a little over 12 minutes to go here, but they are still also have a lot of traffic to get through. So we got 2 more LMP2s that are going to be kind of coming up through these guys.
Yeah, no, we definitely do. And you're right, it's not over, but I mean, you can see, oh man, over the curb's really hard. I don't know if that was Ted or if that was someone else, but and those these are newer curbs in the iRacing service with that track update, and they're a much more aggressive than what they used to be. You can't just blatantly abuse them anymore. You have to be aware of them, or they will throw your car around. So at this point, as I take a look, as you said earlier, pit stops are basically done. So that part of the element is out of the game. So now it's just about making up time, finding better lines, hoping you saved your tires better. Adam, let's talk about that for a second, if you don't mind. If you want to save tires better and have more tires than someone else at Watkins Glen, where do you think you do it?
You try to back up corner entry a little bit, maybe use just a touch more brake. I don't think tire wear is going to be a huge issue here for today, but you might need I think your tire temperature might be the biggest factor in trying to maybe cool your tires a little bit before you got to make a big move. So that's going to be something to consider for some of these guys. They end up in some traffic here at the end, which, by the way, speaking of handling and everything else, Graham Sanders is now back within 3.6 seconds of Paulo Munoz after the pit stops and everything. So gained a lot of time, and right now is ripping off some laps as Paulo Munoz is having to deal with some traffic and also the pit stop of his own. But that last full lap for Paulo Munoz was almost a second slower than Graham Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that may be actually a case of tire usage. I mean, Munoz has ripped off multiple fastest laps. We talked in the beginning how there's that bonus point for fastest lap in a race, and obviously that's what Munoz is going for. But there can be a cost to that sometimes. Typically, drivers who are faster and harder on the brakes, this is the price they can pay. Now, of course, right now he still has a safe gap. I don't want to oversell it. As you can see him coming through either the outer loop or the carousel, depending upon who you ask. And that car lets him by easily. But that can be the downside of ripping off multiple fastest laps, is you can burn up some tires faster than your opponents.
As we see him ripping around, that is the GT3 of Alexandro Breton, and then Felipe Riquelme and the LMP2 behind him getting lapped. That is a good point, though. I mean, it's very interesting, though, just how some of this works out as far as different strategies and tire wear and everything else, because it is a shorter race. I mean, these LMP2s and these GT3s, it's very common for them to, in endurance racing, for them to double stint or even triple stint tires. But you also aren't talking about trying to do it at Watkins Glen all that often. I'm ashamed I do not have watched more 6 hours of the Glen than what I have, but I know some of the other endurance races it wouldn't be an issue, but here it might be. Its speeds are a little faster, and you do have some high-speed corners.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, here you're still going to double, if not triple. I know, I did it last weekend for IMSA Endurance where we're doubling, and some people tried triples, and you can see the effects now with the new tire models in iRacing, how it does and doesn't work for some drivers, but a lot of that stuff is driver specific. It's about how hard you are on the brakes. If you ever use, telemetry software and as you compare, sorry, I saw something close there. As you watch the telemetry and you watch your brake inputs, a lot of drivers who burn more tires than others, it's how hard they're slamming those brakes.
And this is a fight for position right here between Leighton and Holland to see who gets the upper hand here going into the bus stop. That's David Holland trying on a recovery drive, already back up to 4th position. That guy's been on a tear after some of the things that happened to him earlier here in the race, but now back up, only 24 seconds back, only, quote unquote, but he did catch Leighton almost like he was standing still. Came from a long way back.
Yeah, and that's actually a great showing of conditional driving there. That's a move right in the bus stop. He's right on him, trying to push it all the way into the bus stop. We're 8 minutes left. There's no time left to be patient and try to get around someone later. If we were at the 42 minutes, I would say, whoa, you're being too aggressive. But now he's got to go for it. And we'll see if he can set up a line here and see as we come down to the final turns and maybe down that straightaway, if he can make a move in turn one, let's see what he can set up.
And so you also, that's getting a little interesting there again with the traffic as they make contact. David Holland into the wall hard on the outside. I didn't see who else that was there that tagged him. That is going to end David Holland's day. That'll be one worth going back and looking at here.
Yeah, but I don't like this, if I'm being honest. I don't like this at all because I really think that it's funny. We just talked about conditional driving and knowing when to do something and when not to. And for me, by Leighton, that was completely over driving that whole scenario. Let's watch the replay here and see what happens. They're going to come out of there, and he's just going to almost hit that GT3 car and just send it right into the final turn.
Yeah, he caught just a touch of curb, and that made him move up the racetrack just enough to make that contact with Holland. But it all started back with that aggressive move around the GT3, which in itself is fine. You don't got a lot of time left in this race, but you got to be able to hold it down through the corner, and David Holland had to pay the price there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll be able to, if maybe later I can go back and look at that differently from an in-car view. My problem with that move, if I'm honest with you, Adam, is I don't think there was never hopes of sticking that move, short of Holland getting out of the way. That's my problem with that move, no matter what time there is in the clock, is there's aggression where I could stick it and we just made contact. And then there's that kind of move where there's no way with the angle of that corner you were going to make it stick.
Right. And that car that ended up getting tagged there right at the end of that whole sequence was Christian Eisler, who moves up into fifth. He's fallen down the running order now with the damage, but it did temporarily move him up into fifth.
All right, we'll watch them come down the start line again here. About 5 minutes left, so about, depending where you are on the track, 2, maybe 3 laps left for an LMP2 at this point. So you're coming down to the final laps here for any of the LMP2s, and probably 2 to 3 laps as well for the GT3s. But yeah, it's been some really interesting racing. This has been a much different race than our first race, I would say, overall.
Yeah, here in 727, Christian Eisler is going to have a meatball flag, and with only 5 minutes to go, that's going to end his day. I don't think he's going to be able to get that fixed with enough time to get back out there and turn any more laps. So, in fact, if I was him, I'd probably just turn him until they, almost stop scoring me, because it's probably going to work out better for you like that anyway. But with all of that, things have really opened up. I need to go back and see if something happened with Kevin Norris at some point, because he has really lost touch with Ted Lowendick and Vincent Trepanier. Oh, there it is. Contact with, is that Graham Sanders, maybe?
Yeah, I think that is Sanders.
Yeah, so that did not end well for Kevin Norris. In fact, I really don't think he lost a position, but he lost a lot of time to Vincent Trepanier and Ted Lowendick. So that's it's unfortunate for him, as that battle is going to continue to rage on.
That's an interesting example very late in the race of closing speed. I don't think Sanders was trying to be aggressive there. That just looked like a rate of closing speed being faster than what Sanders thought it was, or even what Norris thought it was. They ended up side by side coming into that bus stop.
And here's a move. Teddy's trying to take him into the bus stop, get around Vincent there and clear him. So move Ted Lowendick up into second position in the GT3.
All right, well, time is continuing to tick down here in this race. Got about literally less than 3 minutes left to go in this race at this moment here. I mean, for the LB2s, there's not any close battles left at this moment, unfortunately. Everyone's kind of spread out. So at this moment, you're kind of hoping that something happens, unfortunately. I think the closest battle we can see here is the one we're looking at right here. On track as we come out of the penultimate corner and down into the final one here. So we're going to see if Teddy can get around Trepanier.
Yeah, I made a mistake a minute ago. That was actually Marrier that was getting around Jeunesse. So, but now Ted Lauendick is very much underneath the rear wing of Vincent Trepanier for real this time, and not me watching two different battles going on with two similar cars, four similar cars if you think about it. But meanwhile, while these guys are fighting, what's happening though is Carlos Villa, he's not running away from them, but he is gaining on them, as now it's just a drag race heading down toward the bus stop. Vincent Trepanier has the inside line right there, but Ted Lauendick going to be able to complete that pass as they start to enter the boot section. This is one of those battles I do not feel like is done here quite yet. I think they've given up on trying to catch Carlos Villa. We're 1:30 left in this race, and they are just right now trying to see who's going to sort out the finishing order of the podium, as that LMP2 machine is going to get stuck behind Ted Lauendick here real quick, but patient, waits for the next straightaway. He's going to get past him here.
Yeah, actually, it is interesting to note, though, Lauendick was a little faster last time than the car he's running, about 0.3 of a second, which doesn't sound like a lot, but anytime you think you're closing on someone, your confidence grows, you get a little more aggressive, you get a little bit faster here, and we'll wait and see what happens. They're going to make this a battle, I don't think we're done. So these guys will be taking the GT3s at least will be taking the white flag here. I'm going to assume the LMP2s already have with what little time is left in the clock here.
Yeah, let's go ahead and check in on Paulo Munoz here.
He's in the back of the track. I would assume he's already taken the white.
So he's down in the boot section, rounding the toe, going the uphill right now, and heading toward the keel. Paulo Munoz has driven himself a fantastic race. This is another one of those ones where timing and scoring hasn't exactly told us if he's taken the white already or if we're coming to the checkered here. So we're just going to have to see what happens when he rounds the final corner and see what Barney the flagman's starting to display. But I will say Paulo Munoz is definitely had the pace here for today, as coming around the final quarter, and he's going to take the win here at Watkins Glenn with the checkered flag out. Graham Sanders is going to find himself in second place. Going to have to go a long way back in the LMP2s before you find third place there with Leighton. Now we go up to the battle here for the GT3s, as I think this is going to be the next big one that's going to come across. A lot of the LMP2s have sorted themselves out as they come across the line, with Leighton, Valekis, Eisler, Skalny, Loomis, and Strikes going to be probably finished in that order. But Carlos Villa, Ted Lauendick, Vincent Trepanier, you can still throw a blanket over them as they come out of the boot. They round the keel, going through the uphill. Going to come through the tunnel area. I guess I really don't quite know what to describe that. There's the fact that the track really tightens up right there. We see some big accidents there over the years. Around 2 corners to go, 1 corner to go. Doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to make a move. There is your podium in your GT3 class. Throw a blanket over top of them between Villa, Lauendick, and Trepanier. Great race for those 3 gentlemen. From there, I believe Mara and Kevin Norris, about a half second between them. But it does look like Marrier is going to be able to beat Kevin Norris to the line. Williams and Brisson is going to be their next 2. Breton, Jeunesse, and Jerome Bartholomew is going to round out your top 10 in your GT3s. Hey, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to your podiums in both classes.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
That was an entertaining race here tonight at Watkins Glen as the LMP2 and GT3 classes put on a show for us. Coming home with the overall win in the LMP2s, Paulo Munoz with over just about 4.5 seconds over top of Graham Sanders. Go a long way back, you'll find Miguel Vigo. And then from there, Shinzi Leighton, Marius Velakis in 5th, Christian Eisler in 6th, Ryan Skalny in 7th, and I actually believe Skalny started pretty far back in the field coming home in 7th. 8th is Lance Loomis, Kyle Strikers in 9th, and Matt Hilton is going to be in 10th position. Going over to 11th in the LMP2 class, Francisco Montini had himself some problems. Lucas Basilapu in 5 laps down. David Holland, well, you saw pretty well what happened to David Holland there with that big accident. Felipe Ricami, 5 laps down as well. Horatio Cowquin found himself on the bad end of a couple of incidents tonight. Ignacio Rodriguez, Carl Modoff, Rodrigo Mies, Mauricio Cuero. I believe that's going to round out your LMP2 field. How'd those GT3s turn out?
Let's take a look at it. So, of course, obviously the race winner we saw live on the stream, Carlos Vila. And then beyond that, you have Ted Lowendick, Vincent Strapangay, and then Sebastian Merrier in 4th, Kevin Norris in 5th, GR Williams in 6th, Tommy Brisson in 7th, Alexander Brayton in 8th, Armand Ganest in 9th, and then Jerome Bartholomew rounds out your top 10. Then you got 11th of Christopher Rhines, David Van Roy in 12th, Marc-Andre De Handres in 13th, Rafael Russo in 14th, Rafael Icard in 15th, Christopher M. King in 16th. We saw him early on in the stream. Tony Costello 17th, Jean-Marc Tremblay in 18th, and Jeremy Gonzalez is in 19th and rounds out your GT3 field.
All right, so that's going to pretty much be that for Watkins Glen. We just got to talk to a few people here first. And first up is Paulo Munoz. And Paulo, really a smooth race for the most part. But I mean, you were definitely clicking off some laps out there.
Hi guys. Yeah, especially after Mauricio had his crash on the first run through traffic, it was pretty controlled. I was just fuel saving throughout the whole race, just to keep the tire temps on check, and it seemed to work. And I won in the end, so yeah.
Well, you know, in speaking of that traffic, especially that first run through traffic, it got a little hectic for you guys getting through the GT3 field.
It did, yeah. This track, it's either very easy to pass traffic or very hard, depending on how the GT3 takes the corners. Because in most corners, except like the last sector, you can go around the outside pretty easily. But for example, I had an incident in the SS with one of the GT3s where I think he didn't understand what I was trying to do. So he had some contact. I think he was the leader of the GT3s as well.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's actually just coming up here on the B-roll that we're running, and you know, it just sometimes things happen in the multi-class racing realm, and it looked like today it was just kind of coming together. But that seemed to be kind of the story of the day. It wasn't the only contact between the LMP2s and the GT3s. So, but with that, I mean, Paulo, I mean, you're in a fantastic spot here to start the season. We're already approaching halfway. I mean, this is round 3 of a 10-round season. You got to be feeling pretty confident through the middle part of the year here.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have a good lead and have a good start of the season like this. But at the same time, it's such a competitive field that any slip up and like people start catching up on points. I'm not gonna be able to race next week because I'm gonna be away. So that's gonna cost me lots of points. So I hope that the lead I have at the moment is good enough to kind of cushion that.
Well, that's what drops are for anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, Paulo, I appreciate you stopping by, and well, we'll miss you next week, but we'll catch you next time.
Catch you. See ya.
It was your LMP2 winner here for tonight, Paulo Munoz, and I believe we're going to let Derek talk to Graham Sanders here coming up.
All right, we finished P2 tonight, Graham. Good run overall. First off, let's talk about how you feel about this race.
Yeah, thank you. That was a good race. It's about, I was expecting to maybe hold on to third. I saw what happened to Caro. It looked like he was trying to go around the outside and got clipped by a GT3, but I'm definitely happy with that result. Traffic was pretty scary, a little unpredictable at times, but all in all, it was a good race.
Nice. Next week, of course, is Long Beach, possibly another track scary for traffic. What are you looking forward to or not looking forward to when we go to Long Beach next week?
I personally really like Long Beach. It's one of my favorite street tracks. What I'm not looking forward to is the hairpin. For obvious reasons, that's going to be a pretty sketchy corner. That whole track, honestly, is you've got to be really on edge. You got to be really paying attention. Always watching those gaps to traffic, and just got to be careful. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's always fun.
Awesome. Well, good run tonight. I want to say, once again, good job. Anyone you want to say hello to, thank you to, friends, family, pets, anything like that?
Yeah, I just want to thank all of my teammates, Alpine Stars, GoPro, GSI, Wave Italy, everybody, and of course you guys for the awesome broadcast. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Well, he is the driver of the number 100 car, finishing P2 at Watkins Glen. That is Graham Sanders.
All right, next up, we've got our GT3 winner, Carlos Villa. Carlos, that was a pretty intense race for you guys with the LMP2 traffic tonight.
That was feisty. It seems to keep us on our toes week to week. So kind of glad I survived the first part of that mess, and then I was able to just kind of concentrate on my own strategy and my own pace, and then go from there.
Well, ultimately, of course, that still ended up working out for you. But even then, I mean, you still were having to watch Ted and Vincent in your rearview mirror. You really couldn't pull away from them. Was there any point you were nervous about them maybe catching you, or are you taking it easy and just managing the gap?
No, I essentially went full Prost on it and just kind of managed my own pace and tried to manage at least a second gap. So I knew if they came within that, the Audi and the Lambos have a slight advantage. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to shake them after that. So I just kept hitting my marks and hoping I got lucky with traffic, but the traffic ended up giving and taking back. So it kind of never really worked out. It just put us on edge a couple times. There were some pretty questionable moves, I'll say.
Well, either way, what this is going to do, of course, is it's going to put you solidly in the points lead as we go into next week. And, and that's going to be round 4. We're already into the middle part of the season here. You got a little momentum. Great season so far. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, just my geodesic guys. They kept us on our toes most of the week. I've been out doing some personal stuff. Alpine Star, GoPro, and obviously Gomez and GSI, who just opened a brand new warehouse in Dallas, and we should be looking at some fun events coming up with them.
All right. Well, hey, Carlos, we'll see you at Long Beach. And until then, man, have a good week.
Yeah, appreciate it. See you.
All right. Now, next up, Derek is going to talk to Teddy, who himself had a pretty good night here tonight.
You know, he did have a good night. And in fact, at one point, we were talking about maybe we convince him to do another shoey. Teddy, good run tonight. P2 overall.
Thank you.
Tell us how you feel about the race.
Well, I'm very sweaty, so I'm cooling down with some ice cream here. So it was a good race. I felt bad for Rousseau there going through the S's. Not sure what happened there, but need to check the replay. It's really hard to pass with the new aero this season. So I really just wanted to bide my time behind him and save fuel. And then I think I might have made a mistake. And Carlos got around, and then Rousseau basically died. And then it was just chase down Carlos and survive the LMP2s when they came through. And then, well, everybody saw probably what happened coming out of the pits.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to talk about, too, I think, was the bus stop. At one point, you had the class lead, and unfortunately, a rough run to the bus stop kind of got the better of you. What happened there? Just too aggressive coming in, or what happened there?
I think I was too far over to the left on entry. Ever since the rescan, that curb is like a pogo stick if you hit it just wrong. And I was just too far to the left. You really want to graze that wall almost going by it on the right. And I missed it. And then I'm just lucky I didn't crash, because normally you crash when you hit that bump the wrong way. So, but yeah, it was a fun race. Vincent and chasing down Carlos there at the end was fun. And then having a back and forth battle with Vincent and his teammate. I think his teammate was behind us. That was insane. It was just like a advanced sim racing sandwich with me in the middle. So it was a good time.
All right. Well, I want to ask, I see the display set up behind you over your, I guess what's your left shoulder. I see your Blue Jacket stuff and whatnot. Anything you want to say about that, or just some off?
I live in a town close to Columbus, so of course I'm a Blue Jackets fan. But they're having a weird season. Been good to start. It's been bad since then. Some shiny moments there, but there's always next season.
Always next season. Well, so far for this season, you're doing well with that P2 tonight. Good job. He is the driver of the 72. That is a good job. P2 tonight.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, thanks, Teddy, for coming by, and thanks, Derek, for everything else. We got some people we need to thank, and then we can get on out of here. Majors Garage, home of the free Baseline Plus setups, 24/7 coaching, and more. Head to majorsgarage.com and use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. And ASR, they design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. RaceLab, it helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebutkicker.com. NinjaTrader, visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, Derek, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, please check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenv.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, as you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Hey, next week, GT4s and TCRs are heading to Summit Point, and the LMP2 and GT3s, well, they're heading to Long Beach, April 12th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have other upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.